Chapter 47. Constable Chen had been a constable in the Guangzhou torture room for half his life. He had seen all kinds of strange scenes, but this was truly rare. The enemies were obviously the three martial artists from the military, but in the end, Shen Mo actually killed Chu Zongguang as well. There was definitely something he wasn't aware of. Shen Bai furrowed his brows and said coldly, "If that's the case, then my brother died together with these three people?" Just now, the Shen clan servants had already reported to Shen Bai that in front of Shen Mo's corpse was the corpse of one of the three martial artists. The short knife in his hand had directly beheaded Shen Mo. From the looks of it, Shen Mo didn't manage to kill the other party in one strike and gave the other party some time to catch their breath. Constable Chen shook his head and said in a deep voice, "No. Your little brother didn't die together with others. Just now, I said that on the surface, there were 5 people fighting. In fact, there should be 6 people." Constable Chen revealed a trace of a sneer and said, "To be honest, this person's arrangement wasn't considered brilliant, but it was enough to fool ordinary people. For example, when the people from your residence found the corpse, none of them felt anything was wrong. But if they want to fool me, they are still far from it." Constable Chen pointed to the corpse of the last dragon rider Imperial Guard and said in a deep voice, "On the surface, he used the 1,000-leaf plume to shatter your little brother's weapon and beheaded him with the last knife. But this person's weapon was a spear." Shen Bai frowned and said, "A person who uses a spear can also use a knife. It is not strange to cultivate 2 types of weapons at the same time." Constable Chen smiled and said, "It is not strange. A long weapon can be used to sweep and a short weapon can be used for close combat. It is very normal. But what is not normal is a Xiantian realm martial artist holding a weapon that doesn't suit him. No matter how poor a martial artist is, he wouldn't be so poor to the point of fooling around with his own weapon. Young Master Shen can take a closer look. This spear-wielding martial artist's palm joints are thick, but the short knife's handle is relatively small. It is extremely inconvenient to hold the knife." At this moment, Constable Chen pointed at Shen Bai's hand and said, "The flesh on your brother's finger is ruptured. If I'm not wrong, he should be using the Azure Water Sword sect's vein-severing sword finger. Because your younger brother had exhausted all of his true qi, the pulse-severing finger sword could only condense all of the qi and blood in his body. As a result, as long as the pulse-severing finger sword hit the opponent, it would cause the flesh and blood to explode. If the attack missed, it would only cause the qi and blood to dissipate." However, the opponent's corpse did not have any traces of being hit by the pulse-severing finger sword. From the looks of it, there should be 6 people fighting in the entire Chu clan. It was this 6th person who killed your younger brother after your younger brother killed the other 2, and in the end, he even created the illusion that both sides had perished together. Who is that person? Shen Bai's eyes flashed with a gloomy look. "Chu Xiu." Constable Chen said resolutely. "Chu Xiu? Who is that?" Shen Bai asked suspiciously. Constable Chen said, "According to the information provided by the servants in your residence, this Chu Xiu should be the 2nd young master of the Chu clan. He has the cultivation of the blood condensation realm. From the corpses on the scene, this Chu Xiu was like the rest of the Chu clan, slaughtered by the 3 martial artists from the military." Constable Chen's face revealed a trace of a smile that was not a smile. He said, "I didn't suspect him before, but when I was inspecting the corpses, I felt that something was wrong from the corpse of Chu Xiu." Constable Chen removed the white cloth on Chu Xiu's corpse, revealing the corpse that was beyond recognition. I don't know what kind of enmity the 3 martial artists from the military had with the Chu clan, but their attacks were extremely ruthless. However, with the inner aura realm of the 5th level of the Qi-controlling realm against these blood condensation and body-tempering realm martial artists, it was basically a one-sided massacre. Among all the corpses in the Chu clan, only this corpse was the most special. First, his heart was pierced by the tip of a spear with incomparable precision, then his head was smashed. This was very strange. Could it be that when an inner aura realm martial artist fought against a martial artist who was not even in the Xiantian realm, he couldn't be sure that he could kill his opponent in one strike and needed to add another? Of course, it could also be that the other party deeply hated the Chu clan, so his attacks were ruthless. However, the other party only attacked this corpse twice. Why did the martial artist from the military only have such a deep hatred for Chu Xiu? After that, I carefully examined this corpse. Although the corpse has been dead for such a long time, and the qi and blood have congealed, it is impossible to distinguish whether the other party was in the body-tempering realm or the blood condensation realm. However, from the calluses on the hands of this corpse, I can be sure that when the other party was alive, the other party mainly practiced with weapons such as rods and spears, while Chu Xiu used a saber. Finally, Constable Chen spoke in a deep voice, "Young Master Shen, with all these clues added up, I dare say that there is an 80% chance that the person who killed your son is this Chu Xiu." Shen Bai's eyes revealed a trace of coldness. Many thanks to Constable Chen. It doesn't matter if this Chu Xiu is the murderer or not. After returning to the Azure Water Sword sect, I will do my best to capture this Chu Xiu in Wei County. Constable Chen nodded. Young Master Shen is too polite, this is what I should do. In fact, there were still many mysteries in this matter. For example, why did the three martial artists from the military find the Chu clan, why did Shen Mo kill Chu Zongguang, etc. But now, these things were no longer important. He was no longer the constable of the Guanzhong torture room, but a person of the pugilistic world who had returned to his hometown to live in seclusion. If it wasn't for Shen Bai's personal invitation, he wouldn't have dared to offend the Azure Water Sword sect. In fact, in his heart, Constable Chen was rather curious about Chu Xiu. It had been a long time since he saw such a ruthless and severe youth. 3 Qi inner aura experts, 2 Xiantian martial artists with formidable trump cards. In this chaotic battle, the one who survived was the weakest, Chu Xiu. This was truly inconceivable. And in the end, Chu Xiu even set up the scene at this critical juncture where he could be discovered at any time, creating the illusion of mutual destruction. This was even more difficult. It could be said that if Shen Bai didn't invite him out, then the Shen clan's bunch of outsiders would never be able to discover these small details. It was a pity that no matter how ruthless and severe Chu Xiu was, it was useless. Shen Bai used the Azure Water Sword sect's name to issue an arrest warrant. As long as Chu Xiu was still in Wei County, it was almost impossible for him to escape. After Shen Bai returned to the Azure Water Sword sect, he indeed used the Azure Water Sword sect's name to issue an arrest warrant for Chu Xiu. On the warrant, there was a drawing of Chu Xiu's appearance and physique. Even though the various sects in Wei County were curious as to why the Azure Water Sword sect would issue an arrest warrant for a small blood condensation realm cultivator, but with the Azure Water Sword sect's status in Wei County, they would give face to the Azure Water Sword sect and let their subordinates take note of any traces of Chu Xiu in their territories. But they didn't find any. While the outside world was in an uproar, Chu Xiu was still hiding in the desolate mountains of Shangmang Mountain in seclusion. For 3 consecutive months, he only ate some wild fruits and hunted wild beasts to alleviate his hunger. But Chu Xiu's cultivation was advancing by leaps and bounds. With the glazed gold thread goo, his injuries were completely healed. And with the help of the glazed gold thread goo, Chu Xiu stepped into the Xiantian realm in one go. Qi, blood, tendons, and bones were integrated into one, without any impurities. This was the Xiantian realm. Among the 3 realms of body refinement, the Xiantian realm had already cultivated the physical body to the extreme. The cultivation of the martial Dao had always been one step after another. The 5th level of Qi controlling mainly cultivated one's Qi, but where was the Qi? Within the martial artists' dantian and meridians. So in order to step into the 5th level of Qi controlling, one had to first cultivate the physical body well. Qi was water, and the physical body was like a vessel. How much water could be stored was completely dependent on the size of the vessel. Chu Xiu stepped into the Xiantian realm from the body-tempering realm. Although it took him less than a year, his foundation was incomparably solid. Part of it was because of his hard work, but also the benefits of the Xiantian technique and the glazed gold thread goo. After breaking through to the Xiantian realm, Chu Xiu was not in a hurry to come out. Chu Xiu also familiarized himself with the drizzle dusk red sleeve blade and the great abandoned grappling hand. Actually, the best way to cultivate any martial technique was to adapt to it in actual combat. Right now, Chu Xiu had only cultivated it to the entry level. After almost cultivating the two martial techniques to the entry level, Chu Xiu was ready to leave Shangmang Mountain and head for northern Yen. Chu Xiu remembered clearly that not long after, an ancient relic appeared in the northern Yan's Linzhong Commandery's Luyang Mountain. It attracted many martial artists to fight over it, and there were many good things in it. Moreover, during that fight, there were no strong martial artists whose strength surpassed the 5th level of qi controlling. With Chu Xiu's current strength, he was qualified to enter and participate in it. Of course, now Chu Xiu had no choice but to go to northern Yen. He had killed Shen Mo and created the illusion that he was dead. There was no place for him in Wei County, at least not for the time being. When leaving Shangmang Mountain, Chu Xiu did not look for Han Bao and the others. Although with Chu Xiu's current strength, he was not afraid of Han Bao's evil intentions. However, the longer he stayed in Wei County, the more danger he would face. Chu Xiu directly entered Shangmang Mountain and entered northern Yen. He did not even pass by Qingyuan town, which was at the border. If Chu Xiu's guess was correct, Gao Bei should be in Qingyuan town. However, Chu Xiu did not look for him because there was no need to. Gao Bei was a dependable person, but his personality was not suitable for the dangerous Jianghu. Chu Xiu asked him to bring a caravan to Qingyuan town. Now that the Chu family had been destroyed, the Chu family's business in Qingyuan town belonged to him. It was not bad to be a wealthy merchant who did not have to worry about food and clothing for the rest of his life. The Linzhong Commandery of Yen Country was next to Wei County. After passing by Qingyuan town, Chu Xiu went straight to Shanyang Prefecture of Linzhong Commandery. Shanyang Prefecture was also a large prefecture in Linzhong Commandery. The relic in Luyang Mountain still needed some time to open, so Chu Xiu planned to rest here for a while. Moreover, the annual secret box auction would begin in a few days in Linzhong County, and the location would be in Shanyang Prefecture. It was not one of those cheap secret chests of unknown origin, but one that had a long history. Although it was expensive, the items inside were undoubtedly more reliable. Chu Xiu just happened to know that there were a few good items in this auction. The silver notes and purple gold he brought from the Chu family amounted to nearly 1,000,000 taels of silver. Gold and silver were nothing to a true martial artist. Only strength mattered. Therefore, Chu Xiu was prepared to spend all of these gold and silver treasures in exchange for treasures that could increase his strength. As he stepped into Shanyang Prefecture, the pedestrians on the street all looked at Chu Xiu. The current Chu Xiu was a little too eye-catching. After several months of closed-door training in Shangmang Mountain, Chu Xiu's originally luxurious brocade robe had become dirty. His hair was also a mess. However, his aura did not seem like that of a beggar, so he was still quite eye-catching. Chu Xiu frowned. He first found an inn to freshen up, then went to a tailor's shop to buy a new set of black warrior clothes. He also equipped his red sleeve blade with an inconspicuous sharkskin scabbard. After all, the design of the red sleeve blade was a little too eye-catching. When he was in Tongzhou Prefecture, Chu Xiu still deliberately concealed his strength, so he looked more like a young master of an aristocratic family. But now, Chu Xiu was dressed in black and carried a blade. The biting cold edge of his body was like the edge of a blade. He was completely a young sabresman who was wandering in Jianghu. Chapter 48. In a tavern in Shanyang Prefecture, Chu Xiu placed the red sleeve knife on the table and ordered a pot of yellow wine and a few northern yen specialties to eat. During his seclusion in Shangmang Mountain, Chu Xiu had been eating wild fruits and tasteless barbecued meat for several months. He had eaten so much that he was about to throw up. Wei County was close to Eastern Qi and was considered a vassal of Eastern Qi in the past. Hence, the cuisine here was similar to that of Eastern Qi, but it was more exquisite. The cuisine of the Northern Yen Kingdom was just like the environment here. It was rough and generous, very bold. Chu Xiu only asked the waiter to serve a few Northern Yen specialties. In a short while, the waiter served a large plate of braised beef, a roast chicken, a braised pork knuckle, and a few other side dishes. Upon closer inspection, even the side dishes that went with wine were mostly vegetarian. Chu Xiu was starving. Regardless of whether it was meat or vegetables, it was better than the wild fruits and barbecued meat in Shangmang Mountain. A martial artist's appetite was much larger than an ordinary person's. Cultivating the martial way was a process of refining essence into qi. In less than a quarter of an hour, Chu Xiu had swept away all the dishes on his table. Chu Xiu threw a piece of silver on the table. Just as he walked out, he heard a commotion coming from the street. Many people were gathered there, watching something. Chu Xiu stopped and looked forward. The crowd was watching a man and a woman. The woman was beautiful and had a graceful figure. Although she was young and did not look to be in her 20s, there was already a hint of seductiveness in her. The man was dressed like a young master of an aristocratic family. In his hand was a jade box. With a fawning expression, he said, "Sinew, these are black pearls that I specially asked someone to buy from the southern sea. There are a total of 18 of them. They are all round and almost the same size." The woman frowned and said, "Young Master Zhang, please conduct yourself with dignity. I've already said that it's impossible for young Master Zhang and I to be together. You don't need to waste your time here. Young Master Zhang, please give this gift to her." Chu Xiu's face revealed a look of interest. Courting in public, this Northern Yen culture sure is open. The customs of Wei County were similar to those of Eastern Qi. Matters between a man and a woman had to be settled by the order of the parents and the words of the matchmaker. At least, Chu Xiu had never seen this kind of courtship in Tongzhou Prefecture. A warrior in his 40s beside him, who looked like a low-level Jianghu man, grinned and said, "Little brother, you're not a local of Shanyang Prefecture, are you? Our Northern Yen land is open-minded, but these two aren't courting each other. It's just one-sided love, and they've even made a fool out of themselves." Chu Xiu raised his eyebrows and said, "I've only come to Shanyang Prefecture today. What, does this lady's family background seem to be very high, and you don't like the man?" The warrior curled his lips in disdain and said, "Hi. It's just a small family. This woman is Lin Sinew, the eldest daughter of the Lin family of Shanyang Prefecture. Some busybodies call her the #1 beauty of Shanyang Prefecture. The Lin family she comes from is not a big family, and the family head is only at the blood condensation realm. The man is the second son of the Zhang family of Shanyang Prefecture, Zhang Baichen. He's just a spoiled brat, and he's not a good person. But the Zhang family isn't without capable people. The eldest son of the Zhang family is a calm and steady person. In his early years, he traveled the Jianghu and unexpectedly entered the Ba Mountain Sword sect, one of the 7 sects and 8 sects. He spends most of his time cultivating in Shu, Western Chu, and rarely returns home. After Zhang Baichen took a fancy to Lin Sinew, he sent someone to propose marriage. The head of the Lin family wanted to curry favor with the Zhang family, but Lin Sinew stubbornly refused. But who would have thought that Zhang Baichen would never forget Lin Sinew? In order to curry favor with Lin Sinew, he's used many methods. He's become a common sight in Shanyang Prefecture. Hearing this gossip, Chu Xiu shook his head. He was just an idiot, and there was no meaning to it. The marriage proposal had been rejected, and the other side clearly didn't like him. With the Zhang family's status in Shanyang Prefecture, he could either use force or give up. But he was still pestering them. He was basically a joke. Laughing at him was also laughing at the Zhang family. There were too many people who couldn't see through them. After watching for a while, Chu Xiu felt that there was no meaning to it, so he wanted to leave. At this time, Lin Xinyu saw that there were already so many people surrounding them. They all looked like they were watching a good show. She was so angry that her face was red. She wanted to kill that idiot Zhang Baichen on the spot. Lin Xinyu thought highly of herself. With her looks, if she wanted to marry, she would marry a young talent from a large family, and not a wastrel like Zhang Baichen who had neither strength nor ability. The eldest son of the Zhang family, Zhang Baitao, had joined the Ba Mountain Sword sect of the 7 sects and 8 schools. It was said that he was an inner sect disciple. Lin Xinyu could consider this identity, but Zhang Baichen was not in her consideration at all. But who would have thought that Zhang Baichen would keep pestering her? The Zhang family was stronger than the Lin family, so Lin Xinyu didn't dare to say anything too much. Recently, she had tried to go out as little as possible. Today, Lin Xinyu just wanted to pick some rouge and powder that she liked. She didn't expect to be pestered by Zhang Baichen again. Seeing that more and more people were gathering, Zhang Baichen was thick-skinned and could ignore the looks of others, but Lin Xinyu couldn't. She said angrily, "Zhang Baichen, don't pester me anymore. I already have someone I like." Zhang Baichen's face darkened. He snorted coldly and said, "Who is it?" Lin Xinyu had just blurted out in anger and embarrassment. Now that Zhang Baichen asked her, she was immediately speechless. But when she turned her head, she subconsciously saw the figure of Chu Xiu who was about to leave. She hurriedly pointed at Chu Xiu and said, "It's him." It was actually very simple for Lin Xinyu to choose Chu Xiu in a hurry. Among the people present, only Chu Xiu was the most eye-catching. At this time, although Chu Xiu didn't show his connate realm cultivation, his aura was as sharp as a blade. It was very eye-catching. Moreover, in terms of appearance, although Chu Xiu's temperament was a little dark, his appearance was very delicate and handsome. Compared to those dirty people at the bottom of the Jianghu, Chu Xiu, who was wearing a neat and slender black warrior suit and a long saber at his waist, could be called a hero of the Jianghu. If she didn't choose him, would she choose the guy beside Chu Xiu, who was in his 40s, who had yellow teeth and a gossipy mouth? Even if Zhang Baichen was an idiot, he would know that Lin Xinyu was playing with him. Everyone turned to look at Chu Xiu. The middle-aged man next to him even revealed a wretched smile and said, "Brother, you're not being particular. You're obviously having an affair with the number 1 beauty of our Shanyang prefecture, yet you're pretending to be a stranger and not admitting it?" Lin Xinyu walked over leisurely with a fragrant wind. Chu Xiu raised his eyebrows and said, "Do we know each other?" Lin Xinyu put on a pitiful expression and said in a low voice, "Young master, I will remember this favor of yours in my heart." After saying that, Lin Xinyu directly grabbed Chu Xiu's arm and said to Zhang Baichen, "Child Zhang, I already have someone I like. Please don't bother me in the future. You don't want your reputation, but I want it, and so does the Lin family." At this time, Zhang Baichen's expression was very gloomy. The whole Shanyang prefecture knew that he was pursuing Lin Xinyu. In the Shanyang prefecture, the disciples of the aristocratic families who had a good relationship with the Zhang family also gave him face. No one dared to compete with him. It was not worth becoming enemies with the Zhang family for a woman. But who would have thought that an outsider would take the lead? Just when Zhang Baichen was about to curse, he saw Chu Xiu suddenly pull his arm out of Lin Xinyu's hand. With a crisp sound, Chu Xiu directly slapped Lin Xinyu to the side. Everyone present was stunned. No one thought that Chu Xiu would suddenly do this. Even Zhang Baichen forcibly swallowed his curses. Lin Xinyu also covered her face and fell to the ground, looking at Chu Xiu with a look of disbelief. Swinging his hand, Chu Xiu said lightly, normally, I don't hit women. But for a vicious woman like you, I won't hold back. You are impatient with that idiot's harassment, so you used me as a shield. The Zhang family is the local tyrant of Shanyang Prefecture. After you use me as a shield, the Zhang family will take revenge on me. At that time, you can stay out of it, but who will care if I provoke a powerful enemy for no reason? As soon as he said this, everyone present revealed a strange expression. This young man was really frighteningly calm. If it was someone else, with a beauty by his side, begging him with soft words, how could he think so much? He would have stepped forward bravely and willingly become Lin Sinyu's shield. Of course, the result was obvious. Zhang Baichen would definitely bear a grudge, and then the Zhang family would take revenge. Unless one's background was shocking, how could an outsider fight against the local tyrant of Shanyang Prefecture, the Zhang family? Thinking of this, the way the crowd looked at Lin Sinyu changed slightly. This woman looked harmless, but her heart was very hard. Regardless of whether her previous actions were intentional or not, she had almost harmed an innocent person and offended the local tyrant of Shanyang Prefecture, the Zhang family. It was said that women were femme fatale, and now it seemed that it was true. Chapter 49. Lin Sinyu covered her face and looked at Chu Xiu with hatred in her eyes. In fact, she didn't think too much just now. She just wanted to find someone to use as a shield. As for whether the Zhang family would take revenge on Chu Xiu, she didn't care. After all, even she had to carefully reject Zhang Baichen. She didn't dare to shed all pretense of cordiality with Zhang Baichen. But she didn't expect that Chu Xiu would slap her in front of everyone and expose her thoughts. This made Lin Sinyu so ashamed that she wanted to kill Chu Xiu on the spot. At this moment, Zhang Baichen hurried over from behind and helped Lin Sinyu up. He scolded Chu Xiu, "You actually dared to raise a hand against Sinyu. You're simply courting death." Everyone was speechless. Even at this time, Zhang Baichen was still protecting Lin Sinyu. Should they say that he was infatuated or that he was simply stubborn? Zhang Baichen wasn't joking. He directly waved his hand and a few servants of the Zhang family walked out from the crowd and rushed towards Chu Xiu. Although Zhang Baichen was a bit stupid when it came to Lin Sinyu, he wasn't stupid in other areas. The guy in front of him didn't seem to be easy to provoke. He was only at the body tempering realm. Of course, he would just stand at the back and watch the show. Among those servants, there was a middle-aged man in the blood condensation realm. He was a guest of the Zhang family and was sent to protect Zhang Baichen. The head of the Zhang family knew that his son wasn't reliable, so he could only send a reliable person to protect his son at all times. The blood condensation realm cultivator walked over and said, "Brat, I'm sorry. My young master wants you to stay, so I can't do anything about it. Obediently surrender and you'll suffer less." Chu Xiu sneered disdainfully and didn't even move. When the blood condensation realm cultivator saw Chu Xiu's attitude, a hint of anger appeared in his eyes. His young master was indeed a bit overbearing in this matter. But if this brat was tactful, he wanted to put in a good word for him later. But since this brat had such an attitude, he couldn't blame him for being ruthless. Now that Chu Xiu's Xiantian strength was restrained, the cultivator subconsciously thought that Chu Xiu's strength was around the body tempering or blood condensation realm at his age, so he didn't care too much. He directly stepped forward and punched Chu Xiu's dantian. He was actually planning to cripple him first. A cold light appeared in Chu Xiu's eyes. When the punch was about to hit him, Chu Xiu's hand twisted and the cultivator's arm was directly caught by Chu Xiu. His muscles, bones, and veins were instantly captured. He wanted to struggle but found that he was like prey in a spider's web. He had already been completely captured. No matter how he struggled, he couldn't escape from Chu Xiu's grasp. The great sacrificial grappling hand. Chu Xiu's hand flipped and pulled. a powerful force tore through the cultivator's arm. The cultivator immediately let out a mournful howl. His arm was twisted like a fried dough twist and was thrown to the side. Xiantian martial artist. The surrounding people looked at Chu Xiu with incomparable shock. To cripple a blood condensation realm cultivator in one move, this young man was definitely a Xiantian martial artist. Xiantian martial artists were not rare in Jianghu. But to be able to reach the Xiantian realm at such a young age, he was clearly not a simple person. There were very few independent cultivators, and most of them had a powerful background. Zhang Baichen was also scared silly when he saw this scene. He pulled Lin Xinyu and turned to run, not even caring about the Zhang clan's guest who was still wailing in pain on the ground. Everyone present shook their heads when they saw this scene. This second young master of the Zhang clan really wasn't much. He didn't have any sense of responsibility. In a time of crisis, he didn't care about his own people and only cared about a woman. Fortunately, the Zhang clan still had a big brother to support them. In the future, it would definitely not be his turn to control the clan. The middle-aged cultivator from the Zhang clan who had been gossiping with Chu Xiu came to Chu Xiu's side and said in a low voice, "Young master, it's true that you have the strength of a Xiantian martial artist, but the Zhang clan is the local tyrant of Shanyang province. You're just one person. There's no benefit in having a falling out with them. You should take this opportunity to leave." Chu Xiu raised his eyebrows and said, "Many thanks for the reminder. But I still haven't finished my business here. How can I leave?" At the mention of the Zhang clan, Chu Xiu suddenly had an idea. He walked over and patted the Zhang clan's guest who was still wailing on the ground. He said indifferently, "All right, don't shout. It's just a broken arm. He won't die." The Zhang clan's guest revealed a smile that was uglier than crying. He said in a low voice, "Young master, I have eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. I hope that young master will let me go." He was just a guest of the Zhang clan, not a death warrior of the Zhang clan. It was not worthwhile to offend a young Xiantian martial artist for the sake of the Zhang clan. Therefore, he decisively surrendered. "Do I look like a bloodthirsty person? Don't worry, I won't kill you. Take me to the Zhang clan," Chu Xiu said indifferently. The cultivator was stunned. Wouldn't it be courting death to go to the Zhang clan at this time? It was estimated that Zhang Baichen had already returned to the Zhang clan to ask for reinforcements. "Didn't you hear what I said?" Chu Xiu's face sank and said coldly. The cultivator struggled to get up and said, "I will take you there now." When the others saw that Chu Xiu actually followed the guest of the Zhang clan to the Zhang clan, a strange expression appeared on their faces. Even if he was courting death, he shouldn't do this, right? The Zhang clan's clan leader, Zhang Songling, was a Xiantian martial artist. He had been in the Xiantian realm for more than 10 years. Moreover, the Zhang clan had more than 100 collateral relatives and some servants who knew martial arts. Even if this young man was strong, he was still too inexperienced to challenge the Zhang clan, the local tyrant of the Shanyang prefecture. At this time, Zhang Baichen immediately rushed back to the Zhang clan after sending Lin Xinyu back to the Lin clan. Seeing him like this, the Zhang clan's clan leader, Zhang Songling, who was feeding the birds in the courtyard, frowned and said, "Why are you so flustered? You're already a grown man. I don't expect you to be as ambitious as your elder brother. When can you be more mature?" As the Zhang clan's clan leader, Zhang Songling lived a comfortable life. The Zhang clan was not the strongest among the factions in the Shanyang prefecture, but it was not the weakest either. The key was that he had a good son. Although Zhang Baichen was not up to expectations, his eldest son, Zhang Baitao, had entered the Ba Mountain Sword sect, one of the 7 sects and 8 schools. This gave the Zhang clan too much face. Every time the Shanyang prefecture's families gathered, everyone would praise his eldest son. Therefore, in the Zhang clan, Zhang Songling could not be bothered to discipline Zhang Baichen. Anyway, this son of his was destined not to take over the position of clan leader in the future. It was fine if he was a little naughty, as long as he did not cause too much trouble. Zhang Baichen said with a wronged expression, "Father, I want to be mature, but I was almost killed just now." Zhang Songling was shocked. "Who dared to attack you in the Shanyang prefecture? Didn't I send Han Wei to protect you? Where is he?" "That person is a Xiantian realm martial artist. Han Wei was crippled in one move." Zhang Songling immediately frowned. Xiantian realm martial artist? An outsider? Zhang Baichen knew all the Xiantian realm martial artists in the Shanyang prefecture, so he did not dare to provoke them. Moreover, in the Shanyang prefecture, the others would also give face to the Zhang clan and would not make things difficult for Zhang Baichen. "Yes, it is an outsider." Zhang Songling snorted. "Don't worry, an outsider, even if he has the strength of the Xiantian realm, he can't behave atrociously in the Shanyang prefecture." Zhang Songling did not even ask who was in the right and who was in the wrong. With the Zhang clan status in the Shanyang prefecture, even if Zhang Baichen was in the wrong, could he still punish his own son and apologize to the other party? At this moment, a voice suddenly came from outside the door. "Zhang clan leader is so powerful. It seems that in the Shanyang prefecture, the Zhang clan can cover the sky with one hand." Chu Xiu followed Han Wei into the courtyard. When Zhang Baichen saw Chu Xiu, he immediately took 2 steps back in panic. He pointed at Chu Xiu and said, "Father. It is him. He wanted to kill me just now. He even crippled Han Wei." Zhang Songling looked at Chu Xiu coldly. He was also a little surprised at Chu Xiu's young age, but he still said coldly, "How dare you? You dared to touch my Zhang clan's people, and you still dare to come to my Zhang clan. Do you really think that there is no one left in the Zhang clan?" Chu Xiu glanced at Han Wei and said, "It's just a broken arm, it's not like it can't be reattached. As for the matter between me and your son, Zhang clan leader can directly ask him later. I came here today to discuss a business deal with Zhang clan leader, a big business deal worth hundreds of thousands of taels of silver. If Zhang clan leader thinks that regaining your son's face is more important than a business deal worth hundreds of thousands of taels of silver, then forget what I said." Hearing Chu Xiu's words, Zhang Songling was suddenly shocked. Although the Zhang clan scale in the Shanyang prefecture was not small, it was only slightly stronger than the previous Chu clan. For the Zhang clan, hundreds of thousands of taels of silver was indeed a big business deal. Zhang Songling looked deeply at Chu Xiu and said, "Let's talk inside." Chapter 50. Chu Xiu and Zhang Songling took their seats in the living room. Only Zhang Baichen was still in a daze. They were clearly enemies. How could they sit here and talk about business in the blink of an eye? Zhang Baichen was about to say something, but Zhang Songling glared at him and stopped him. Zhang Songling looked at Chu Xiu and said in a deep voice, "You just touched a member of my Zhang family, and now you want to talk about business with my Zhang family? What kind of business are you talking about?" Chu Xiu said indifferently, "In a few days, it will be the annual auction of the secret box in Linzhong Commandery. I happen to know some insider information. Among the secret boxes, there are a few that I need. But I am not from Linzhong Commandery. If I participate in the auction rashly and compete with others, not only will I attract attention, I may not get what I want in the end. But the Zhang family is different. As the local tyrant of Shanyang Prefecture, your family should participate in the auction every year and buy a batch of secret boxes. So I want to ask the Zhang family to help me get what I want. After the auction, I will reward you handsomely." As he said this, Chu Xiu took out a large piece of purple gold and placed it on the table. There were 10 taels of purple gold, which was more than 100,000 taels of silver. This is the deposit. Asking the Zhang family to help with the auction was something that Chu Xiu suddenly thought of when he was fighting with the Zhang family. What he said to Zhang Songling just now was the truth. The auction of Linzhong Commandery was held every year, and the participants were all familiar faces. As it was an auction, everyone was competing with their wealth and personal connections. Chu Xiu was an outsider. He had a few 100,000 taels of silver, which was enough for him to showcase his skills at the auction. However, it was very likely that he would attract the attention of others, resulting in an accident. If it was purely a competition of wealth, Chu Xiu was naturally not afraid. He was prepared to spend all the silver he had, but he was afraid that something unexpected would happen during the auction. According to Chu Xiu's understanding, this kind of auction organized by dozens of forces in the pugilistic world was not so clean. If outsiders entered the auction, it was very likely that they would lose both their money and their lives. Zhang Songling looked at the purple gold that Chu Xiu had taken out with an unreadable expression on his face. Since this person dared to participate in the Linzhong Commandery auction, it meant that he had a certain background. After all, this was an auction that would be attended by dozens of factions in the entire Linzhong Commandery. The secret boxes that could be taken out for auction all had their origins, and the starting price would be in the thousands or even tens of thousands of silver taels. The most important thing was the purple gold that Chu Xiu had taken out. Purple gold was something that ordinary martial artists in the Jianghu would never be able to come into contact with. Only a few great powers would keep it in reserve. At such a young age, and with such wealth, he could even take out purple gold. Right now, Chu Xiu's identity was truly unfathomable in Zhang Songling's eyes. Chu Xiu said lightly, "Master Zhang, have you made up your mind? After this is done, I will pay you another 20 taels of purple gold, and all you need to do is to move your mouth during the auction." Zhang Songling thought for a while before saying, "Sure, I agree to this deal. However, may I ask for young master's name?" Chu Xiu pushed the purple gold in front of Zhang Songling and said with a smile, "No problem. I'm Chu Xiu, and I'm staying in the Pleasant Arrival Inn in the Mountain Sun Prefecture. After the auction begins, I'll come find you, Patriarch Zhang." After speaking, Chu Xiu turned and left. Chu Xiu did not wish to recall some of the things that happened in his previous life. He had already died once, and those memories were not very pleasant. However, now that he had taken out a fake name to fool others, Chu Xiu subconsciously said the name of his previous life. Zhang Songling thought about it. He had never heard of Lin Yi in the Linzhong Commandery before, so the other party should be a foreign cultivator. After Chu Xiu left, Zhang Baichen hurriedly asked, "Father, why are you working with him? Are you just going to let this matter go?" Zhang Songling frowned and said, "I haven't asked you yet. How did you incur enmity with this Lin Yi?" Zhang Baichen wanted to say something, but Zhang Songling said, "All right, you don't have to say it. I won't hear any truth from your mouth." As he spoke, Zhang Songling called Han Wei, who had finished treating his injuries, and asked him to tell him the details of the situation. After Han Wei finished, Zhang Songling immediately scolded Zhang Baichen angrily, "What did I tell you back then? I told you to stay away from that woman, Lin Sinyu, but you turned a deaf ear to it. Can't you tell what that woman is thinking? She's just playing with you like a fool. She's a source of trouble. Today, you offended a Xiantian realm Lin Yi because of her. In the future, if you offend a big shot that our Zhang family can't afford to offend because of her, it will be a calamity that will destroy our family." Zhang Baichen did not dare to retort after being scolded. He could only say in a low voice, "Then are we just going to let this matter go?" Zhang Songling snorted coldly and said, "If we don't let this matter go, what else can we do?" He came with a huge business deal worth hundreds of thousands of taels of silver. Do you think your face is more important than hundreds of thousands of taels of silver? However, I can't see through that Lin Ye's background. I will send someone to investigate. During this time, don't provoke that Lin Yi again. Just stay at home and reflect on your mistakes." After reprimanding Zhang Baichen, Zhang Songling turned to Han Wei and said, "Han Wei, I've made things difficult for you this time. In a while, go to the pharmacy to get some medicine and pills for cultivation. I will approve a few more months for you to use." Han Wei smiled bitterly and cupped his hands, saying, "Many thanks, Patriarch." That Lin Yi was a Xiantian realm martial artist. Now that he had a partnership with the Zhang family, his injuries could only be considered to have been in vain. Zhang Songling suddenly asked, "You fought with that Lin Yi? Can you tell which sect he is from?" Han Wei smiled bitterly and said, "How can it be considered a fight? I was simply subdued by him in one move. That Lin Yi used a very terrifying grappling technique. As long as I'm caught, I can forget about escaping. Furthermore, I can sense that he hasn't used his full strength yet. There's a saber at his waist, which should be his main weapon. He's already so terrifying without using a weapon. When he draws his saber, I reckon I won't even be able to withstand a single strike." Zhang Songling rubbed his chin and said, "Grappling technique? Very few people in the pugilistic world cultivate this kind of unpresentable martial art. The most famous ones are the Great Dragon Capturing Hand of the Great Radiance Temple and the Heaven-Splitting Divine Claw of the Southwestern Heavenly Eagle sect. What exactly is this Lin Ye's background?" After thinking about it, Zhang Songling said in a deep voice, "It just so happens that you're injured now. You don't have to stay by second brother's side for this period of time. Help me run an errand and find the Wind-Sweeping Pavilions branch in Linzhong County. Spend a lot of money and get them to help me investigate this Lin Ye's background." Han Wei asked in surprise, "Patriarch, aren't you already prepared to make a deal with him? Why do you still want to investigate him?" A strange expression appeared on Zhang Songling's face as he said, "Making a deal with him doesn't mean that we're friends. I want to see this Lin Ye's background. This person's way of doing things is very strange. I won't feel at ease if I don't get to the bottom of this. Although the Wind-Sweeping Pavilion's information is expensive, if there's nothing wrong with this Lin Yi, we can still earn quite a lot of money from this deal. No matter how we look at it, we won't make a loss." Han Wei nodded. The Patriarch was still the one with deep foresight. If it were him, he wouldn't have thought so much. Right now, Chu Xiu didn't care about what the Zhang clan's people would do. To the current Chu Xiu, strength represented confidence. Even if he was alone, he had the confidence to not be afraid of the Zhang clan. That was why he dared to leave the purple gold with the Zhang clan as a deposit. If the Zhang clan wanted to swallow his deposit, Chu Xiu would let the Zhang clan understand that they had to be trustworthy. 5 days later, the Mountain Sun Prefecture's secret box auction officially began. Almost all the aristocratic families in the Linzhong County sent people to participate in the auction. On the day of the secret box auction, the Zhang clan didn't play any tricks. Instead, they directly sent people to invite Chu Xiu. When he arrived at the Zhang clan, Zhang Baichen and Zhang Songling were already waiting for Chu Xiu. Although many days had passed, Zhang Baichen's eyes were still filled with hatred when he saw Chu Xiu. It was because of this guy that he had embarrassed himself in public and even ruined the reputation of his beloved woman. A few days ago, he had even gone to the Lin clan. In the end, he didn't even enter the Lin clan's door. However, he had just been warned by Zhang Songling not to cause trouble. Therefore, when he saw Chu Xiu coming over, he only snorted coldly and turned his head to the side. Chu Xiu didn't care. He couldn't be bothered to stoop to the level of an idiot. Zhang Songling said, "Mr. Lin, the secret box auction will start at noon. Let's go." Chu Xiu nodded and followed behind Zhang Songling. He also hid his aura. He looked like a young junior of the Zhang clan, not revealing anything. Chapter 51. The auction of the secret box was arranged in the largest restaurant in Shanyang Prefecture, 8 Treasures Restaurant, which was also the property of the Tao family, the largest family in Shanyang Prefecture. The Zhang family's influence could be ranked in the upper class in Shanyang Prefecture, but in the whole Linzhong Commandery, it was at most in the lower middle class. There were many experts in the 5th level of Qi-controlling realm who came to participate in the auction. Chu Xiu followed the people of the Zhang family to take their seats. A short, fat, and stout man with a perpetual smile on his face walked onto the stage. He cupped his hands towards the surroundings and said, "I am Tao family's chief steward Tao Wang. This year's auction of the secret box will be hosted by my Tao family." The auction of the secret box in Linzhong Commandery has been going on for more than 10 years, so I won't say too much. The rules are the same as in previous years. The origin of the secret box is absolutely authentic. At the same time, the identity of the seller will be hidden. After the auction, the buyer will pay on the same day and the seller can also receive the money on the same day. Also, everyone is from the martial arts world of Linzhong Commandery. In order not to hurt the harmony between both parties, each party can bid for the secret box 10 times at most. After 10 times, if there is still competition, then the auction will be temporarily closed. Both parties can discuss the ownership of the secret box. If there is anything, we can talk it out. Alright, let's cut to the chase. My name is Tao Wang, and I wish everyone good luck today. The secret boxes you open all contain good stuff. Hearing Tao Wang briefly explain the rules of the auction, Chu Xiu secretly thought that it was a close call. Fortunately, he thought one step ahead and found the Zhang family as a shield. Otherwise, he might really be in some trouble this time. The auction of the secret box in Linzhong Commandery was obviously prepared for them. Although outsiders could participate, there was obviously a lot of inconvenience. The bidding was limited to 10 times at most. They were afraid that the two forces would become enemies because of one auction. After 10 times, everyone secretly discussed a compromise and discussed the ownership of the secret box. Everyone was happy if they each took a step back. However, if Chu Xiu were to participate in the auction by himself, and if someone were to compete with him, then after 10 bids, the other party would see that Chu Xiu was a stranger, and that he was alone. Who knew what kind of decision they would make? It was possible that they would threaten and rob him. At this moment, Tao Wang on the stage waved his hand, and someone immediately brought out a white jade box. Tao Wang pointed at the box and said, "This box was produced in Nanman. It was excavated from a mid-tier sect during the great calamity of the ancient times. Although the name of the sect was unknown, it was not a small one. Looking at the material of the box, it should be used to store pills and unrefined spirit medicines. Of course, it could also be empty, or the elixirs and elixirs inside have already decayed due to material problems. Everyone, please be careful. The starting price is 15,000, and each increment must not be less than 1,000. As soon as he finished speaking, a group of people started bidding. After a few bids, the price had already doubled. The price of the box that was confirmed to contain elixirs was generally not too high because there were too many uncertainties. Some pills could last forever after they were concocted, maintaining their medicinal potency. However, some pills had an age limit. It was possible that after you opened the secret box, although it wasn't empty, it would be a pile of medicinal mud without any medicinal potency. Zhang Songling asked in a low voice, "Is young Master Lin interested in this thing?" Chu Xiu shook his head. Regarding the situation of this auction, he only knew that there were a few good things mentioned in the plot. As for whether there were other treasures, he really did not know. Therefore, before he saw his target, Chu Xiu would not make a move. Zhang Songling saw that Chu Xiu was not interested, so he bid twice, wanting to buy the secret box. For a small family like the Zhang family, the probability of opening a cultivation method from a secret box was somewhat low. Moreover, the price of a cultivation method secret box was at least 10 times that of an elixir, so the Zhang family could not afford to gamble. Therefore, every year, the Zhang family would spend more than 100,000 silver to bid for some elixir-type secret boxes. Although most of them were empty, there would always be one or two good things when they were lucky, and if they were lucky, they would be able to break even with just one. In the auction, several more secret boxes were sold, but Chu Xiu did not participate in any of them. Until now, Tao Wang asked someone to take out a palm-sized, blood-red secret box with strange patterns. He said, "The origin of this secret box is somewhat interesting. A few decades ago, in Eastern Qi, an ancient demonic sect's inheritance was born. One of the 7 sects and 8 schools, the Phaseless Demon Sect, wanted it, and one of the 5 great sword sects, the Sword King City, also sent experts to snatch it. The battle between the two sides was somewhat intense, and they even directly destroyed the ancient ruins. Some of the surrounding small sects and rogue cultivators picked up a bargain, and obtained many secret boxes. Therefore, in these years, many secret boxes produced by that demonic sect have been sold, and some of them have opened up some good things. The cultivation method of that demonic sect should be related to blood, and it belongs to the extreme demonic path, so everyone should be careful. Moreover, the secret boxes that have been sold over the years have also been real and fake. Some people have directly used some trash secret boxes of unknown origin to pretend to be real, and they have deceived many people. At present, we have determined that this secret box is 70% real and 30% fake. Whether it is a cultivation method, an elixir, or some other treasure, we cannot tell. Everyone, please be careful. The base price is 200,000, and each bid is 10,000. After listening to this introduction, there were really only a few people present who bid, especially those big powers, who did not participate in the bidding. It was not because they thought that this secret box was fake, but because they had scruples about their reputation, and were not too interested in demonic things. Those who had come to participate in this secret box auction were the righteous sects of Linzhong Commandery. It was easy to be criticized if they won a secret box produced by a demonic sect, and if it was a cultivation method, even if it was powerful, they could only secretly cultivate it. And if it was an elixir, to a very large extent, it was also of little value. This was because the elixir produced by demonic sects was somewhat unsuitable for the righteous martial artists, and some would even cause a backlash. At this time, Chu Xiu narrowed his eyes and whispered to Zhang Songling, "Zhang family head, help me win this secret box." Zhang Songling nodded and directly raised his paddle, 250,000. When the people present saw that the Zhang family was interested, many people immediately gave up. It was not that they were afraid of the Zhang family, but it was somewhat not worth bidding for such a high-risk item of little value. But at this time, there was a bald strong man who had been bidding with Zhang Songling. Both sides had already competed for 400,000, directly reaching the peak of the 10 bidding. That bald strong man glared at Zhang Songling and coldly snorted, "Zhang family head, my Black Tiger gang is so far away from your Shanyang prefecture, and I have not offended you, right? Is it interesting to compete with me for this thing?" The other righteous martial artists did not want to bid for this secret box because it was a demonic item, but this strong man was from a gang, and did not have this worry. Zhang Songling cupped his hands and smiled bitterly, "Chao family head, I did not mean that, I really want this secret box. Everyone knows that my family's second son is really a bit of a good-for-nothing, and he can't be compared to his big brother. My Zhang family's inherited cultivation method focuses on accumulation, and it is really too slow for him to cultivate, so I want to try my luck and see if I can open a demonic cultivation method. After all, demonic cultivation methods focus on speed, and I do not need his foundation to be very stable, I only hope that he can advance to the next realm quickly." Zhang Songling's excuse was considered reasonable, and that Chao family head of the Black Tiger gang thought for a moment and said, "Since you want to help your son, old Chao, will not make things difficult for you. 100,000 silver, I will take the initiative to withdraw." This kind of thing was very common in auctions, and when one side retreated, the other side naturally had to pay some price. In all fairness, 100,000 silver was a bit too much, but in any case, the secret box was Chu Xiu's, and the silver was also his, so Zhang Songling naturally did not feel the heartache, and directly agreed to it. The secret box was successfully won by Zhang Songling. Chu Xiu frowned. The cost of this secret box was a bit beyond his imagination, and he actually spent 500,000 silver to win it, which directly used up all the silver he got from the Chu family. However, it was also fortunate that this time he cooperated with the Zhang family, or else if he came alone, that Chao family head of the Black Tiger gang might not give him face, and at that time, Chu Xiu might have to make a cameo appearance as a bandit, and try to rob and kill along the way. Chu Xiu did not participate in the following auction, anyway. In the original plot, the most valuable things in this auction were already in his hands, and although there were a few other good things, Chu Xiu did not care. When the auction ended, Zhang Songling took the silver that Chu Xiu gave him, and after handing over the money, he said to Chu Xiu, "Young Master Lin, please wait patiently. After the seller receives the money and confirms the confirmation, the secret box will be sent to the Zhang family tonight." Chu Xiu said, "That's good, I will come to the Zhang family tonight to get the secret box, and I will also hand over the rest of the purple gold to you, Patriarch Zhang." After leaving the auction, Zhang Songling directly returned to the Zhang family, and at this time, Han Wei, who had been away from Shanyang Prefecture for a few days, also happened to rush back. He moved closer to Zhang Songling and said in a low voice, "Patriarch, I got the news from Wind Sweeping Tower. There is really something wrong with Lin Ye's identity." Chapter 52. Zhang Songling's face immediately revealed a strange expression when he heard Han Wei said that there was a problem with Lin Ye's identity. To be honest, he investigated Lin Ye's identity just in case. He was afraid that Lin Ye was backed by those evil cultivators and didn't have any evil intentions. But he didn't expect to actually find a problem. "Any news from Wind Sweeping Tower?" Han Wei said. "Wind Sweeping Tower's information is that there is no such person. There is no young Xiantian martial artist called Lin Ye in the Linzhong region. In the entire northern Yan region, there are young Xiantian martial artists called Lin Ye, but their appearances don't match. Therefore, Wind Sweeping Tower suspects that Lin Ye is using a fake name." But later on, Wind Sweeping Tower suddenly found out that something happened in the Wei region's Tongzhou prefecture. It was because a small clan in the Tongzhou prefecture, the Chu clan, was annihilated, but the younger brother of Azure Wave Sword Sect's eldest disciple, Falling Rain Sword, Shunbai, was killed. Because of this incident, Azure Wave Sword Sect issued a wanted order for Chu Xiu in the entire Wei region. They even had a simple portrait. When I took a look, it was actually 80% similar to Lin Ye. But according to the wanted order, Chu Xiu is only at the blood condensation realm, but Lin Ye is at the Xiantian realm. Wind Sweeping Tower can't be 100% sure that both of them are the same person. Therefore, Wind Sweeping Tower only took 80% of the price. Zhang Songling sneered twice and said, 80% is already enough. I didn't expect that after this investigation, we actually found something good. Han Wei, who was at the side, asked in astonishment, "Clan head, are you trying to sell the information that Lin Ye is Chu Xiu to the Azure Water Sword Sect?" "But clan head, the Azure Water Sword Sect is a sect from the Wei Commandery, and you should know about the relationship between the Wei Commandery and our northern Yan. Both parties aren't on good terms. Even if they know of the news, they wouldn't dare to make a big fuss and capture anyone." Zhang Songling sneered, "Who said I want to sell the information about Chu Xiu to Azure Wave Sword Sect? In Wind Sweeping Tower's information, the real point isn't that Chu Xiu is wanted by Azure Wave Sword Sect, but that he doesn't have any faction behind him. Instead, he is a stray dog that fled in panic. Since the Chu family had been destroyed, wouldn't Chu Xiu have all the Chu family's assets and valuables with him? Squeezing out these things is much more worthwhile than selling the information to the Azure Water Sword Sect." Han Wei said hesitantly, "Patriarch, are you going to make a move on Chu Xiu? Even though according to the intel, he is only at the initial Xiantian realm, but for the Azure Water Sword Sect to put a bounty on his head, he definitely isn't a simple character." Zhang Songling said coolly, "No matter how extraordinary he is, he's just one person. My Zhang family has so many people, could it be that we can't do anything to him? However, there was nothing wrong with being careful. If Chu Xiu is willing to obediently hand over the Chu clan's treasures, then both parties will naturally be happy. But if Chu Xiu doesn't know what's good for him and insists on making a move, then get them to inform the Tao clan and the other major factions of the Mountain Sun Prefecture to come after hearing the commotion. There's no need to tell them the details, just tell them that there are benefits. Get them to help me surround this Chu Xiu. At most, we will just split the profits with them. Han Wei nodded. This was also the rule of the Mountain Sun Prefecture. There was competition between the factions, but there was also cooperation. If one person couldn't eat it alone, then they would get others to eat it together. After nightfall, the auction house had already sent the secret box that Chu Xiu had bid for to the Zhang residence. Zhang Baichen said from the side, "Father, didn't Lin Yi, no, Chu Xiu say that he has insider information? Let's open it and see what exactly is inside this secret box." Zhang Songling nodded. He was also rather curious, but just as he was about to open it to see what exactly was inside, a servant suddenly reported that Chu Xiu had come to visit. A gloomy smile appeared on Zhang Songling's face as he placed the secret box on the table. After a while, Chu Xiu was brought in by a servant of the Zhang clan. However, the moment he entered, Chu Xiu felt that the atmosphere was a little off. Previously, Zhang Songling's attitude towards Chu Xiu was considered polite. Both of them were innate stage cultivators. At the very least, Zhang Songling didn't treat Chu Xiu as a junior and put on an arrogant attitude. However, when he saw Chu Xiu enter, Zhang Songling remained seated in his chair. He didn't say a word or even move. Meanwhile, Zhang Baichen, who was beside him, looked at Chu Xiu with a playful look on his face. He actually felt like he had gotten his revenge. A strange look appeared in Chu Xiu's eyes as he said indifferently, "Let's exchange the goods. Zhang clan head, we can be considered to have a pleasant cooperation this time." As soon as he finished speaking, Chu Xiu saw the scarlet box on the table and immediately reached out to take it. But right at this moment, Zhang Songling was one step ahead and kept the secret box in his arms. This caused Chu Xiu's expression to instantly turn cold. "Zhang clan head, what is the meaning of this?" Zhang Songling replied indifferently, "Nothing much. I just want to have a chat with young Master Lin." "Oh? Chat about what?" A trace of coldness flashed in Chu Xiu's eyes. Zhang Songling sat up straight and sneered, "Of course it is to chat about your identity. Lin Yi, Chu Xiu?" "Hee, young Master Chu, if I didn't investigate, I really wouldn't know that you actually have such a background. How does it feel to be wanted by one of the 7 sects and 8 factions, the Azure Water Sword sect?" Hearing Zhang Songling's words, Chu Xiu frowned, but his hand was already on the red sleeve blade. After arriving at the Linzhong region, he didn't hear any news from the Azure Water Sword sect. He subconsciously thought that his arrangements weren't discovered, but from the looks of it, he must have left a flaw in his plan in a hurry and was seen through. Chu Xiu replied indifferently, "Zhang clan head is preparing to report me to the Azure Water Sword sect? But the Azure Water Sword sect only put me on the wanted list in Wei region. Can they send people to Northern Yen to capture me? The one I killed was the Azure Water Sword sect's eldest disciple, Shenbai's younger brother, not Shenbai himself." Zhang Songling sneered, "The Azure Water Sword sect cannot capture you with great fanfare. But if I were to capture you and send you to the Azure Water Sword sect, as one of the 7 sects and 8 schools, how much benefits do you think the Azure Water Sword sect will give me?" As soon as he finished speaking, Zhang Songling clapped his hands. Immediately, dozens of Zhang clan's elite martial artists surrounded the entrance. Among them, there were 5 blood condensation realm martial artists, and the rest were the Zhang clan's elites. Chu Xiu's eyes flashed with a hint of coldness. "Zhang clan head is preparing to use force? Previously, I was very sincere in wanting to cooperate with Zhang clan head. Zhang Songling shook his head, not at all. I also don't want to make a move. I just want young Master Chu to understand your current situation. The Azure Water Sword sect is a large sect in Wei region. If there is no need, my Zhang clan doesn't want to deal with the Azure Water Sword sect for some petty benefits. So young Master Chu, if you are willing to take out some treasures in exchange for your life, I can let you go. I will even take the initiative to cover up the news in the Mountain Sun region. Speaking up to here, Zhang Songling's eyes revealed a trace of greed. The Chu clan was exterminated, and the only one left alive is you. Most of the Chu clan's wealth should be in your hands, right? Hand them over. Wealth is just a worldly possession. Life is your own. Actually, from the start, Zhang Songling never thought of selling the news of Chu Xiu to the Azure Water Sword sect. He didn't even think of capturing Chu Xiu and handing him over to the Azure Water Sword sect. The reason was simple. The Azure Water Sword sect only issued a warrant for Chu Xiu. They didn't mention if anyone could offer up information on Chu Xiu or capture Chu Xiu. The Azure Water Sword sect was Wei region's #1 sect. To the entire Wei region's martial arts community, everyone had to give face to the Azure Water Sword sect. Therefore, when the Azure Water Sword sect issued a warrant, there was no need for rewards. Some sects would even be secretly delighted to be able to form a relationship with the Azure Water Sword sect. The Zhang clan was a small faction in the northern Yan region. Even if they took the initiative to hand over information on Chu Xiu or Chu Xiu himself to the Azure Water Sword sect, they probably wouldn't get anything good. At most, they would just get Shenbai to express his gratitude. And if the Zhang clan didn't know what was good for them and demanded an exorbitant price from the Azure Water Sword sect, then they would die a miserable death. Therefore, after knowing the true identity of this Chu Xiu, Zhang Songling had already made up his mind. He was going to squeeze out all the Chu clan's wealth and treasures from Chu Xiu. The Chu clan had been exterminated, and Chu Xiu was the only one left alive. All of the Chu clan's wealth, cultivation resources, and other treasures were definitely on Chu Xiu's body. Adding all of these together, it was definitely a huge sum of money for the Zhang clan. But Zhang Songling didn't know that at that time, Chu Xiu was already seriously injured and had one of his arms crippled. Furthermore, because of Shen Mo, he died in the Chu clan. How would he dare to stay in the Chu clan for long? Chu Xiu didn't have the time to search for the Chu clan's wealth and resources. Only the silvers on him were found in Chu Zongguang's house. Chu Xiu's eyes flashed with a cold light. Zhang clan head has such a big appetite. Aren't you afraid of overexerting yourself? Your ability to rob others is even stronger than bandits. Zhang Songling took out an ancient bronze sword with pine patterns. This was a weapon produced in the land of Ba and Shu. It was a 4th revolution sword forged by a sword master from Ba and Shu. It was given to him by his eldest son, Zhang Baitao, as a gift for his 50th birthday. Zhang Songling pointed the sword at Chu Xiu and spoke indifferently, an innocent man will get into trouble because of his wealth. If you are a Xiantian martial artist with a strong background, then my Zhang clan wouldn't dare to offend you. But if you are an ordinary rogue Xiantian martial artist with nothing good on you, then my Zhang clan wouldn't be bothered to offend you. There is no benefit in fighting to the death. But you, Chu Xiu, are currently wealthy and are just a stray dog wanted by the Azure Water Sword sect. If we don't make a move on you, then who should we make a move on you? Chapter 53. As the head of the Zhang family, Zhang Songling hadn't fought with others for a long time. He hoped that Chu Xiu would be sensible, so that he wouldn't have to ask other forces of the Shanyang prefecture to share the loot with them. Chu Xiu held the red sleeve blade in his hand and said lightly, "Would you believe me if I said that I didn't take any of your things when I left the Chu family?" Zhang Songling sneered, "Do you think I would believe you?" Chu Xiu shook his head and said, "I guessed that you wouldn't believe it either. However, Patriarch Zhang, what you said just now is very true. Wealth is merely a worldly possession, and only one's life is one's own. Unfortunately, you yourself haven't seen through this point. As soon as he finished speaking, a murderous intent swept over in an instant. Chu Xiu's eyes suddenly became red. Chu Xiu's aura was very sharp. He used a saber, and his own aura was like a saber. But just now, Chu Xiu was just a blade hidden in the scabbard, and his killing intent was restrained. Now Chu Xiu was a blade out of the scabbard. Once the blade was out of the scabbard, it would drink blood and kill. The scarlet blade light flashed. No one knew when the red sleeve blade was out of the scabbard, and its speed was extremely fast. The azure dragon in the sleeve blade could not only let Chu Xiu break out the strongest blade at the critical moment, but it could also make Chu Xiu's speed become faster and fiercer. Zhang Songling didn't expect that Chu Xiu would make the first move at this time. He asked people to block the door because he was afraid that Chu Xiu would escape. But he didn't expect that Chu Xiu didn't want to escape at all. Instead, he took the initiative to kill him. How could Chu Xiu leave just like that when he hadn't gotten what he wanted? In a panic, Zhang Songling's figure retreated quickly. The ancient pine-patterned sword was simple and heavy. After a few points, the Southern Dipper star mark appeared in front of him. The Southern Dipper was in charge of life, and the Northern Dipper was in charge of death. Zhang Songling's sword technique had an extraordinary origin. It was also a sword technique that he had obtained from a secret box in his early years, but it was only a remnant of a powerful sword technique. However, although it was only an incomplete move, it contained the vitality of the Southern Dipper sword force. The sword force was continuous and watertight. However, when Chu Xiu's saber light came into view, Zhang Songling's expression suddenly changed. He had never seen such a beautiful blade before. The crimson blade and the transparent blade were like transparent glass inlaid with crimson bone ridges. The blade was slightly short, and the curved part of the blade was like the slender waist of a peerless beauty. It had 1,000 styles and 10,000 kinds of intense beauty. Twilight drizzle red sleeve blade. No matter how beautiful a saber was, it was still a saber. When the saber was unsheathed, it drank blood and killed people. The crimson color in Chu Xiu's hands had evolved into a strong killing intent. The saber momentum was bleak and strange. The crimson blade tore through everything, and the Southern Dipper sword momentum was shattered. Chu Xiu narrowed his eyes, but the crimson killing intent in his eyes was about to overflow. With the fusion of the memories of two lives, Chu Xiu had a tyrannical factor in his bones. Chu Xiu had already discovered this when he was in Tongzhou Prefecture. However, Chu Xiu had never chosen to suppress this. Instead, he allowed it to grow. This caused Chu Xiu's killing intent to surge to an abnormally strong level during the battle. Of course, Chu Xiu had a limit in his heart. He would not be overwhelmed by the killing intent. On the contrary, this strong killing intent would also appropriately enhance Chu Xiu's own strength. At this moment, facing Zhang Songling, Chu Xiu only had one feeling: he could not withstand a single blow. He did not know whether it was because he was too strong now, or because Zhang Songling was used to living like a prince and was too weak. In any case, Chu Xiu did not feel the slightest pressure from Zhang Songling. He was much weaker than Shen Emo, who had died in Chu Xiu's hands. At this moment, Zhang Songling had no time to be shocked. He hurriedly shouted, "Attack together." There was indeed a certain gap between the Xiantian realm and the blood condensation realm, but this gap was not to the extent of being like heaven and earth. At least, the attack of the blood condensation realm could still cause a certain amount of damage to the Xiantian realm. Hearing Zhang Songling's words, the Zhang family's warriors outside finally reacted. They hurriedly rushed into the hall and attacked Chu Xiu together with their weapons in hand. Their movements were quite coordinated. Chu Xiu's figure moved and directly rushed into the crowd. The red sleeve blade in his hand swallowed and spat out a beautiful crimson light. As the blade fell like a pool of autumn water, a head flew into the sky. In an instant, blood splattered everywhere. A blood condensation realm warrior was directly beheaded by Chu Xiu's blade. The more blood the blade was dyed, the more intense the crimson color on the blade became. Chu Xiu's figure wandered among the Zhang family's warriors. In the dusk drizzle, it was as if he was taking a leisurely stroll. But as long as his blade slashed across, it was bound to take a life, causing blood to bloom. In a short while, Chu Xiu had consecutively killed more than 10 people. The entire hall was completely dyed red with blood. Zhang Songling's eyes revealed a ruthless look. He could not let Chu Xiu continue killing like this. Otherwise, the Zhang family's vitality would definitely be greatly damaged. Zhang Songling's Southern Dipper sword was good at defending and not good at attacking. Just like his character, he was more willing to stand his ground under other people's attacks until the other party lost their temper. In Shanyang Prefecture, Zhang Songling had always done this, until he met Chu Xiu, an existence that he could not even block. Since he could not block, then he could only attack. Although Zhang Songling was not good at attacking, it was impossible for him to only practice such a sword technique. While Chu Xiu was massacring the members of the Zhang family, Zhang Songling immediately took the initiative to attack. The pine vein ancient sword in his hand emitted an extremely resplendent sharp light. Countless sword shadows rained down. This was not the sword light of a level 5 Imperial Qi expert, but the shadows created by the sword being too fast. Hainan Chaotic Wind Splitting Sword Technique. The Chaotic Wind Splitting Sword Technique was created by a sword sect that had already been destroyed, Hainan Sword Sect, so it was also known as the Hainan Chaotic Wind Splitting Sword Technique. It was quite widespread in Jianghu, but its grade was not low, it was at the 3rd rank. The sword shadows fell like a heavy downpour. Although it looked very messy and uneven, the essence of the chaotic wind-splitting sword technique lay in the word messy, making people unable to figure out the sword momentum within it. In the depths of the sword shadows, Chu Xiu's blade momentum changed. In the midst of the chaotic sword momentum, he slashed horizontally, aiming at Zhang Songling's chest. The sword shadows stopped, and Zhang Songling's chaotic wind-splitting sword technique could not mess up Chu Xiu. Facing this terrifying blade, he could only put away his sword to defend, displaying the Southern Dipper sword momentum. However, he was sent flying by Chu Xiu's blade. The powerful force even caused his perlicue to bleed, and the hand holding the sword was trembling. However, at this moment, Han Wei, who had been hiding in the crowd and had not made a move, took this opportunity to form a claw with his left hand. Like a ferocious tiger descending the mountain, he launched a sneak attack on Chu Xiu's back with a sharp force. Chu Xiu did not even turn his head. With a movement of his left hand, he displayed the great sacrificial grappling hand. His 5 fingers were like 5 steel nails, directly pressing down on Han Wei's palm and squeezing along his arm. Only the crisp sound of bones cracking could be heard, along with Han Wei's miserable howl. His entire arm was crushed by Chu Xiu's great sacrificial grappling hand. I gave you a chance, but unfortunately, you did not cherish it. As soon as he finished speaking, Chu Xiu's hand gently moved on Han Wei's head, and a terrifying thing happened. Han Wei's head was like a ball, spinning in a big circle before flying out. In an instant, blood gushed out like a fountain. After being held in the great sacrificial grappling hand, one's body no longer belonged to oneself. This scene was incomparably terrifying, and everyone present was stunned. The Zhang family's hangers-on and servants could be considered to be somewhat knowledgeable. Killing someone was nothing strange, but a scene as horrifying as Chu Xiu, who forcibly plucked off a person's head with a single move of his hand, had already scared them silly. The first to lose control was none other than Zhang Baichen. Zhang Baichen was a good-for-nothing playboy. In the Zhang family, he was a little too well protected. The Zhang family was supported by Zhang Songling, the family head. Outside, his elder brother, Zhang Baitao, was also supporting the facade. He himself was also the kind of person with no great ambitions. He had never thought of competing with his elder brother for the position of the family head. Therefore, the relationship between the two brothers could be considered harmonious. Since young, when had he ever seen such a cruel scene? Therefore, at this moment, Zhang Baichen completely broke down and ran out as if he had lost his mind. Seeing this scene, Zhang Songling's expression suddenly changed. He hurriedly shouted, "Don't go. Come back." A sneer appeared at the corner of Chu Xiu's mouth. He took a step forward, and the red sleeve blade in his hand danced. He took off the heads of two Zhang family warriors who were blocking in front of him, and directly grabbed Zhang Baichen in his hand. Feeling the cold blade swaying in front of him, Zhang Baichen's body trembled. Zhang Songling looked at Chu Xiu with a trace of regret in his eyes. He did not regret making a move on Chu Xiu, but he regretted that he did not consider it thoroughly. He felt that he had considered the matter of making a move on Chu Xiu. Chu Xiu had no background and was just a stray dog being hunted. It was not a big deal to make a move on him. However, he had missed one point, and that was Chu Xiu's strength. He had never expected that even though they were all at the innate realm, he and the warriors of the Zhang clan would not be able to take down Chu Xiu. Now, Chu Xiu had even captured his own son. Chapter 54. Zhang Songling wasn't Chu Zongguang, he wouldn't disregard his own son's life for a treasure. Looking at Chu Xiu, Zhang Songling put down his sword and spoke in a low voice, "Chu Xiu, you win this time. I should have thought of it. To be wanted by the Azure Water Sword sect, you must have done a lot of things. I will give you the secret box, and I will pay for the money to buy the secret box. Let my son go, and I won't tell anyone about what happened today." Chu Xiu shook his head and spoke indifferently, "Zhang clan head, you still don't understand. The most important thing to do is to know one's own limits. Previously, you didn't know your limits and tried to kill me. Now, you are still begging me without knowing your limits. What I hate the most is when someone tries to snatch my things. Even though you only tried to snatch something that didn't exist, but you still made a move. There is no medicine for regret in this world. Since you have decided to make a move, there is no turning back. Just like now, I have killed so many of your Zhang clan's members. You might be admitting defeat, but your heart must be very unwilling, right? So today, I will ask all of you to die." With a casual statement, the blade in Chu Xiu's hand casually slid across Zhang Baichen's neck and threw him to the side like a piece of trash. There were some things that you either didn't do, or you had to do it to the extreme. This wasn't a habit of Chu Xiu's in his previous life, but a principle that he comprehended in this life. From top to bottom, this Zhang clan wasn't any good people, and Chu Xiu already knew it. Hence, he had prepared for both scenarios. If the other party was honest, then he wouldn't kill them out of boredom. But if the other party wasn't honest, then Chu Xiu didn't mind earning back the money he spent in the auction. At this moment, when Zhang Songling saw that Chu Xiu had killed his son, his eyes instantly turned scarlet red. He roared and brandished his sword at Chu Xiu. "Chu Xiu! I'll kill you!" The chaotic cloak of wind swordsmanship was displayed, and the chaotic sword momentum contained an incomparably violent killing intent. However, it was completely broken by Chu Xiu's blade. The crimson-red sleeve blade swept away the pine-pattern ancient sword. The drizzle was crimson-red, and the killing intent fell. Zhang Songling dodged in a panic, but he was still slashed below his ribs, and blood instantly flowed out. "You feel angry that you're sending off your son? Unfortunately, there's no medicine for regret in this world." Chu Xiu's figure moved directly, and the blade fell, forcing Zhang Songling to dodge repeatedly. However, at this moment, Chu Xiu only used his left hand to display the great sacrificial grappling hand. A corner of Chu Xiu's clothes was caught in his hand, and in an instant, Zhang Songling's entire left arm was caught by Chu Xiu. With a forceful pull, Zhang Songling's entire arm was forcibly torn off by Chu Xiu. Just when Zhang Songling was about to cry out in pain, a crimson blade light appeared in front of him, and in an instant, his head fell to the ground. Blood flowed down from the red sleeve blade, but not a single drop of blood stained the blade. Sure enough, high-grade goods were different. A fifth revolution precious weapon was much more useful than ordinary weapons. However, Chu Xiu shook his head. To be honest, Zhang Songling's strength was too weak. It was true that Zhang Songling was an innate expert, but Chu Xiu was sure that Zhang Songling had not been in a life-and-death battle for several years. His cultivation did not deteriorate, but his combat strength had deteriorated beyond recognition. On the other hand, Chu Xiu, ever since he transmigrated, almost every battle was a life-and-death battle. If he lost, he would either be killed or crippled. Therefore, when fighting, Chu Xiu's nerves were stretched taut, and he did not dare to relax in the slightest. At this time, the Zhang clan servants had already fled. In fact, when Chu Xiu was killing crazily, the Zhang clan had already fled. This situation was very normal for a small aristocratic family like the Zhang clan, which did not have a strong foundation. Most of their followers and servants were recruited with money, and their loyalty could only be said to be average. If it were a large aristocratic family with hundreds of years of foundation, the direct and side branches would be clearly separated. Even the servants would be loyal descendants of the main family for several generations. Basically, this situation would not occur. Chu Xiu found the secret box on Zhang Songling's corpse. Inside it was the piece of purple gold that he had given to Zhang Songling. However, it was now back in Chu Xiu's hands. No matter what, the Zhang clan was considered a famous force in the Shanyang prefecture. The Zhang clan's foundation was definitely deeper than the Chu clan's. Killing, robbing, and arson, Chu Xiu did not mind playing the role of a bandit when needed. However, before he could do anything, he heard a commotion coming from outside. Chu Xiu frowned. There were actually quite a number of people with powerful auras. Dozens of warriors stepped into the Zhang clan's courtyard. They were all the leaders of the other forces in the Shanyang prefecture, and they were called over by the Zhang clan. Chu Xiu did not know that Zhang Songling had actually called the other forces in the Shanyang prefecture to prevent him from escaping. He thought that he had made too much noise and attracted the people here. As soon as those people stepped into the Zhang clan's courtyard, they were shocked to see the scene full of corpses. Just now, the Zhang clan servants told them that Zhang Songling was going to deal with someone, and asked them to help surround him. When the time came, they would help them get a share of the loot. This kind of thing was very common in the Shanyang prefecture, and it could be regarded as the tacit rule of the Shanyang prefecture. They were not afraid that Zhang Songling would deceive them, so when they received the news, they immediately rushed over. However, in such a short time, so many people from the Zhang clan had died? Everyone present looked at each other. They could not see the origin of this person, but the fact that so many people from the Zhang clan had died in his hands was enough to prove that this young man was not simple. No matter what the benefits that Zhang Songling had mentioned were, the fact that he had died here was enough to prove that the benefits were not easy to obtain. However, it was not the right thing to let this person go like this. After looking at each other, among these people, a warrior in his 40s, holding a zanmadeo, stood out and shouted, "How dare you? How dare you kill people in my Shanyang prefecture? Do you really think that there is no one in the Shanyang prefecture who can stop you?" Chu Xiu squinted his eyes and said, "You are." The warrior said in a deep voice, "Shanyang prefecture, Tao family, mountain-splitting blade, Tao Zongwang." Chu Xiu glanced at the corpses of Zhang Songling and the others, and said lightly, "My grudge with the Zhang clan is purely personal, and I have no intention of becoming enemies with the Shanyang prefecture." Tao Zongwang shook his head and said, "But no matter what, the Zhang clan is also a member of the Shanyang prefecture. Your Excellency has killed people and just left without leaving any explanation. It is not justifiable no matter where you put it. Chu Xiu glanced at the people from the other families who did not move, and Tao Zongwang who stood out alone. Chu Xiu seemed to understand something. He took a step forward and slashed out with the red sleeve blade in his hand. The crimson blade light was as bright as lightning, and with a poignant killing intent, it suddenly made Tao Zongwang's hair stand on end. Tao Zongwang used a blade, and he had met many saber men, but it was the first time that he saw such a magnificent blade, and in that magnificence, there was endless killing intent. Tao Zongwang raised the Zanmadeo in his hand, and his momentum was unparalleled. On one side was the magnificent red sleeve blade, and on the other side was the powerful and heavy Zanmadeo. Between the two, one focused on sharpness and lightness, and the other focused on strength and pressure. The two blades collided, and suddenly there was a loud clang. Chu Xiu took 3 steps back, and the red sleeve blade was not damaged at all. Tao Zongwang also took 3 steps back, but there was a rice grain-sized gap on his Zanmadeo. Chu Xiu did not continue to attack, but directly sheathed the blade, and said lightly, "Is this enough explanation?" Tao Zongwang looked at Chu Xiu, and although he tried to keep calm, his eyes could not hide the horror. The two of them clashed, and although it seemed to be a draw, it must be known that Chu Xiu was using an extremely sharp long saber, while he was using the heavy and powerful Zanmadeo. Chu Xiu used his weakness to attack his strength, but both sides were evenly matched. If it was a life-and-death battle, it could be imagined what it would be like. He really could not figure out how Chu Xiu, at such a young age, accumulated such a strong internal force, and such a strong foundation of strength. Even he was shocked. With a sigh, Tao Zongwang held his blade and stepped aside, and with his action, the other aristocratic families did the same, and directly stepped aside, allowing Chu Xiu to leave. Just now, the others did not move, and only Tao Zongwang stood out. In fact, there was only one purpose, and that was to test Chu Xiu. If Chu Xiu's strength was not as strong as they thought, then fine, they could directly let Chu Xiu stay. But now, Chu Xiu's strength was unfathomable, and even Tao Zongwang, who was the strongest among them, did not have the confidence to take him down. In that case, let the matter be. Although they were confident that they could take down the opponent together, who could guarantee that they could come out unscathed? And there was another reason. They did not know what benefits this person in front of them had, but other benefits were right in front of them. The Zhang family was now all dead. The Zhang family was originally built by Zhang Songling from scratch. The so-called direct descendants were only Zhang Songling and his 2 sons, and the others were servants and distant relatives. The Zhang family was such a big business, how could the people of Shanyang Prefecture watch it fall into the hands of the Zhang family's distant relatives? Of course, it should be divided among them. Chapter 55. After the news of the Zhang family being destroyed spread in Shanyang Prefecture, there was not much of a stir. Compared to a small place like Wei County, the competition in the martial arts world of the Northern Yan Kingdom was far more intense. It was normal for families to be destroyed and to seek revenge. Back then, the Zhang family was able to rise in the Shanyang Prefecture by stepping on the corpses of others. People did not know much about the Zhang family being destroyed. They only knew from some of the surviving servants of the Zhang family that the other party was called Chu Xiu and that he had gotten in touch with Zhang Baichun and Lin Xinyu. When they thought up to there, everyone couldn't help but shake their heads in their hearts. They thought to themselves that this woman was truly a femme fatale. If it wasn't for this matter, Chu Xiu would definitely not have any contact with the Zhang clan. At this time, after Chu Xiu left Shanyang Prefecture, he prepared to go to the vicinity of Luyang Mountain and wait for the ruins to open. The incident at Shanyang Prefecture was just a small interlude to him, so Chu Xiu did not pay much attention to it. After leaving Shanyang Prefecture, Chu Xiu opened the secret box. Inside was a cultivation method. It was the secret cultivation method of the ancient demonic sect, the Blood River sect, piercing sun and moon. At the auction, the auctioneer of the Tao family said that the secret box was 70% real and 30% fake. In fact, he was talking about the origin of the secret box. 70% of it was left behind by the Blood River sect. As for what was inside, no one could be sure. Cultivation methods and martial skills had always been more expensive than elixirs and the like. This was common sense. If this 70% probability could be confirmed to be a cultivation method, then this secret box wouldn't be auctioned at all. Even if it was auctioned, it wouldn't be calculated by silver, but by gold or purple gold. The piercing sun and moon was a very strange inner cultivation method of the Blood River sect. It originated from the demonic path, but it was not completely demonic. The piercing sun and moon originated from the saying, "Heaven and earth are heartless and treat all things as straw dogs." All life in the world was death. As for the various aspects of death, regardless of whether it was natural or not, it was all in the word, kill. When people kill people, it is called kill. When the heavens punish people, it is called evil. The piercing sun and moon could condense one's own killing intent and explode with boundless power. A higher level could even condense the piercing sun and moon with extraordinary power. One's own killing intent and the baleful energy between heaven and earth could be used as the power of connecting the sun and moon. The righteous path's martial artists could also condense their own righteous energy. Naturally, it could also be used as connecting the sun and moon. That was why later generations would evaluate this cultivation method as very mystical. It could be used to cultivate the demonic path, but also the righteous path. The grade of piercing sun and moon was fourth revolution. In northern Yen, Chu Xiu knew that there were quite a few cultivation methods that were suitable for him to practice now and had not fallen into the hands of experts. There were even fifth revolution and even sixth revolution cultivation methods. He could try to seize them, but with his current strength, the probability of success was a little small, not more than 50%. The reason why Chu Xiu chose to auction the piercing sun and moon in Shanyang Prefecture was not only that this cultivation method was easy to get and was on the way, but also that the piercing sun and moon could be the icing on the cake for Chu Xiu. In fact, this cultivation method was not too outstanding in the original plot. It could only be said to be below the middle level. Even its effect was much weaker than that of the Xiantian skill, which could help the cultivators salvage their foundation. But for the current Chu Xiu, this cultivation method was very useful. The Xiantian skill was indeed very powerful in salvaging the foundation. Otherwise, Chu Xiu could not have reached the innate realm. But in the battle, the characteristic of the Xiantian skill was that the internal force was strong. There were not many skills to use it, and the explosive power was not enough. After cultivating the lunisolar piercing spirit, Chu Xiu would be able to make use of its characteristics to increase his explosive power. It wouldn't be considered a timely help, but at the very least, it would be the icing on the cake. It would allow Chu Xiu to have fewer shortcomings. After getting this cultivation method, Chu Xiu went to Luyang Mountain while practicing it. At this time, in the direction of Shanyang Prefecture, on a handsome white horse, a handsome warrior in a blue robe, with a quaint bronze sword on his back, rode slowly into the city. This man was Zhang Baitao, the eldest son of the Zhang family. In his early years, he joined the Beishan sword sect in the land of Beishan and Shu in the western Chu kingdom. He spent most of his time practicing in the Beishan sword sect and did not return home once in a few years. After all, the land of Beishan and Shu was a little far from the northern Yen. With his speed, it would take him 2 or 3 months to go back and forth, which delayed his practice too much. Looking at the familiar streets in Shanyang Prefecture, Zhang Baitao could not help but smile. He had not seen his father and brother for several years. This time he came back, he prepared a lot of gifts for them. His father's martial talent was not very good, and it was estimated that he would stop at the primordial realm in his life. So he specially used the merits in the sect to exchange some life-prolonging elixirs for his father. As for his brother, he also knew that his brother was not a material for martial arts, and his character was a little naughty. But everything in Jianghu was still based on strength. So this time, Zhang Baitao specially asked his master to promise him to give his brother the internal force that the Baishan sword sect gave to the outer sect disciples to practice, so that his brother could practice faster. In the past, Zhang Songling built the Zhang family from scratch. Different from the intrigues of other aristocratic families, the atmosphere of the Zhang family was very good. In the eyes of outsiders, Zhang Songling was a greedy old fox, but in Zhang Baitao's heart, he was a good father who worked his heart out for the family. For the sake of his own cultivation, he exchanged the money that he had painstakingly calculated into cultivation resources for him, just so that he could become a talent. His younger brother, Zhang Baichen, was naughty, but when he was young, he left cultivation resources to his older brother. He did not compete or become strong. This made Zhang Baitao very touched, and he always took good care of his younger brother. Zhang Baitao even prepared to tell his father that he did not want the Zhang family and would leave it to his younger brother. As long as he stayed in the Ba Mountain Sword sect, the Zhang family would be fine. But at this time, a young master walked out of the restaurant. Seeing this person, Zhang Baitao got off his horse and greeted, "Brother Tao, I haven't seen you for many years. Are you well?" The young master stilled when he saw Zhang Baitao, as though he was frightened. He stammered in greeting, "So it is Brother Zhang. Aren't you cultivating in the Ba Mountain Sword sect? Why have you come back?" Zhang Baitao was puzzled by this person's behavior. He was Tao Yi, the young master of the Tao family of the Mountain Sun Prefecture. They were acquainted since childhood. Why did he look so strange when he saw Zhang Baitao? "I have not returned home for many years. I miss my father and younger brother. Coincidentally, my seclusion in the Ba Mountain Sword sect has reached a bottleneck, so I told my master that I would go out for a walk and relax. I am preparing to return home." Tao Yi gave an unnatural smile and said, "In that case, Brother Zhang, hurry home. I will not disturb you." As he spoke, Tao Yi ran away as though his feet were smeared with oil. Seeing Tao Yi's actions, Zhang Baitao felt even more wrong. The two were acquaintances, and Tao Yi was not an idiot. He should have said some polite words, right? He had left the Mountain Sun Prefecture for so many years. Now that he had returned, the other should at least say something to welcome him. Why did he run away so quickly? Thinking of this, Zhang Baitao felt a faint haze in his heart. He immediately mounted his horse and rode towards the Zhang family. But Tao Yi was faster than Zhang Baitao. He had to tell Tao Zhongwang and the other major forces of the Mountain Sun Prefecture as soon as possible. The death of Zhang Songling and his son naturally had nothing to do with them, but the problem was that during this period of time, several major forces were still slowly digesting and distributing the Zhang family's property. Now that the son of the Zhang family had returned and saw their ugly table manners, how could Zhang Baitao not be angry? If Zhang Baitao was an ordinary person, it would be fine. But Zhang Baitao was a Khanate warrior, and he was an inner sect disciple of the Ba Mountain Sword sect. Although the Ba Mountain Sword sect was far away in Sichuan, it was still one of the 7 sects and 8 schools. If these small forces bullied the disciples of the Ba Mountain Sword sect, they would not be able to bear it if they sent an expert to seek justice. At first, they thought that Zhang Baitao had not returned to the northern Yan for so many years, and no one knew when he would come back again. So they were relieved to swallow the Zhang family's property. Anyway, after a long time, who would remember what happened in the past? But who would have thought that Zhang Baitao would return to the northern Yan at this time? At this time, Zhang Baitao rode his horse to the Zhang family. The usually lively Zhang family was now tightly shut. When Zhang Baitao pushed the door open, what appeared in front of him was unexpectedly white silk flower knots hung all over the courtyard. Several loyal collateral relatives of the Zhang family were wearing mourning clothes and had set up a mourning hall in the courtyard. They were adding paper money into the brazier. Seeing this, Zhang Baitao's body suddenly swayed. The collateral family members were also shocked by Zhang Baitao. When they came to themselves, they hurriedly cried, "Young master! You're finally back." Chapter 56. Zhang Baitao didn't dare to think too much about it. He pulled a clansman to his feet and shouted with bloodshot eyes, "What the hell is going on?" The clansman was shocked by Zhang Baitao's reaction. He said incoherently, "Master and second young master are both dead. Many people died in that battle. The blood condensation realm hanger-ons are all dead, and many of the Zhang family's elites are also dead." Hearing this, Zhang Baitao's eyes showed a look of disbelief. He shouted, "How could father and brother die? What the hell is going on? Who did it?" Before the clansman could say anything, Tao Zhongwang and the other big forces of Shanyang Prefecture walked in. After knowing that Zhang Baitao was back, they didn't dare to go too far. They immediately returned all the properties of the Zhang family. However, the money and other financial assets had been divided among them. Even if they returned them now, they wouldn't be able to calculate the total amount. So they could only give up for the time being. Zhang Baitao suddenly turned around and grabbed the ancient bronze sword on his back. He said coldly with his bloodshot eyes, "Everyone, I want an explanation. What the hell happened to the Zhang family?" In Zhang Baitao's view, with the Zhang family's strength in Shanyang Prefecture, there were only a few families that could destroy the Zhang family. Tao Zhongwang smiled bitterly, "Young Master Zhang, please calm down. The destruction of the Zhang family really had nothing to do with us." Tao Zhongwang told Zhang Baitao everything. Of course, he didn't mention that they divided the properties of the Zhang family. Tao Zhongwang spread his hands and revealed a helpless expression. "Young Master Zhang, the Zhang family is also a member of my Shanyang Prefecture. We also wanted to keep the Zhang family from being exterminated, but Chu Xiu was able to kill your father. I also exchanged blows with him. He was indeed very strong, so we didn't dare to act blindly without thinking, so in the end, we could only let him go." Chu Xiu. Zhang Baitao gnashed his teeth and spat out these two words. Everyone on the scene could even hear Zhang Baitao's teeth chattering. It was not hard to imagine how much he hated Chu Xiu now. Just at this moment, Zhang Baitao actually slashed out with his sword. The tip of the sword was like a bolt of lightning, carrying with it the might of a thunderbolt as it chopped towards a middle-aged cultivator beside Tao Zhongwang. Ba Mountain Night Rain, Purple Lightning Thunder. The Ba Mountain Sword Sect's 8-character sword scripture had evolved into 8 powerful sword techniques. Right now, the Purple Lightning Azure Light sword that Zhang Baitao was using was as fast as lightning, and had reached initial success. No one expected that Zhang Baitao would suddenly make a move. Only Tao Zhongwang hurriedly raised the Zanmadeo in his hand and blocked in front of Zhang Baitao with the heavy long blade. However, Tao Zhongwang's hands were directly numbed by the sword, and his face revealed a shocked expression. The legend said that when the Ba Mountain Sword Sect's Purple Lightning Azure Light sword was cultivated to the extreme, it could summon the power of purple lightning on a rainy night. He had not believed it before, but now he did. "Master Zhang. I just said that the Zhang family's matter has nothing to do with us. Do you want to take your anger out on the entire Mountain Sun Prefecture?" Tao Zhongwang said unkindly. No matter how strong the Ba Mountain Sword Sect was, it was only in West Chu. This was Northern Yen. Zhang Baitao pointed at the middle-aged man and said hatefully, "It's because of that slut, Lin Xinyu, that my Zhang family provoked Chu Xiu. Back then, I told my younger brother that that woman's thoughts ran too deep. If he married her, my Zhang family wouldn't have peace. In the end, my Zhang family provoked such a disaster because of that slut. This middle-aged man was Lin Sinyu's father, the master of the Lin family. Right now, he wanted to cry. If Zhang Baichen had not pestered Lin Sinyu all day, how could things have reached this stage? Tao Zongwang gave the master of the Lin family a look, telling him to leave quickly. Now, Zhang Baitao was already furious. Not to mention that this matter itself had something to do with your daughter, even if it really had nothing to do with her, Zhang Baitao was obviously ready to vent his anger on someone. The master of the Lin family fled in panic. Tao Zongwang shook his head at Zhang Baitao and said, Master Zhang, even if you kill him, it is useless. The dead cannot come back to life. As long as you are alive, the Zhang family will be alive. In the future, the Mountain Sun Prefecture's Zhang family will depend on you. Get over it. Zhang Baitao raised his head abruptly. His eyes were wide open and bloodshot. His originally handsome face was now distorted beyond recognition. How can I let go of the hatred of killing my father and exterminating my clan? Master Tao, I don't want the Zhang family's property anymore. I just want to know Chu Xiu's strength and his whereabouts. Zhang Baitao was not his idiot brother. Thinking of the flustered expression on Tao Yi's face when he saw him, he clearly knew what this group of people had done after the Zhang family was destroyed. But he did not care about this anymore. His father was dead, and his brother was also dead. What was the point of keeping the Zhang family? The only obsession in his heart now was revenge. Tao Zongwang thought about it and finally shook his head with some embarrassment. Master Zhang, of course, revenge is necessary, but I still hope that you can think about it carefully. Chu Xiu's strength is unfathomable. I once fought with him. Although we were evenly matched on the surface, if we really fight, I don't have a great chance of winning. Also, we are not very clear about his whereabouts. Our men only saw him go in the direction of Luyang Mountain. If he goes further, he will not be in the Mountain Sun Prefecture's sphere of influence. Also, we dare not follow him anymore. Zhang Baitao waved his hand absent-mindedly and let them all leave. Now he just wanted revenge, but the result was that he could not even find his enemy. Even if he found him, it was not certain whether he could kill him. As a member of the Shanyang Prefecture, although Zhang Baitao had not returned to the Shanyang Prefecture for a few years, he was still aware of Tao Zongwang's strength. If Tao Zongwang had no confidence in winning against him, the chances of him winning would not be high either. Northern Yen was not Bashu. If it was in Bashu, he would ask his master to use the name of the Ba Mountain Sword sect to find people. Chu Xiu would not be able to escape. But this was Northern Yen. Their Zhang family had some fame in the Mountain Sun Prefecture, but in the Linzhong Commandery, they were barely in the middle. In all of Northern Yen, the Zhang family's strength could only be said to be unranked. Zhang Baitao looked at the sword in his hand. He could choose to return to the Ba Mountain Sword sect to cultivate in seclusion and come back for revenge after his strength increased. Or he could work hard to improve his position in the Ba Mountain Sword sect, and then use the power of the Ba Mountain Sword sect for revenge. But all of this needed time. His father and brother's bodies were still warm. How could he have the mind to cultivate and work hard? Suddenly, Zhang Baitao thought of something. He seemed to know a person in Northern Yen. Although he was not familiar with him, the power behind that person was enough to help him get revenge even if he only used a little bit of it. That person was the young master of the righteous manor of the 6 great gangs, Lingyun bringing rain, Nye Donglu. There were countless forces in the Jianghu. The songs of the Jianghu made by wind-sweeping tower called the 6 great gangs the 6 gangs of people harmony. So the 6 great gangs were also called the 6 gangs of people harmony. They did not have the right time, nor did they have the geographical advantage. The only thing they were good at was harmony. The 6 great gangs were born in the wilderness, but they all had a large number of disciples. Although there were many with mediocre talent, there were some extremely talented people in each generation who could support the whole gang. The largest wind organization in the Jianghu, Wind Sweeping Tower, was also one of the 6 gangs of people harmony. If there were not enough people, they could not support such a huge wind organization. Of course, Wind Sweeping Tower was still tactful and did not rank themselves too high in the Jianghu songs. After all, in terms of martial strength, Wind Sweeping Tower could only be considered as the lowest existence among the 6 gangs of people harmony. Although the strength of the Righteous Manor was only considered average among the 6 gangs of people harmony, it had the best reputation. In the past, the Righteous Manor was just a small broken temple. 30 years ago, there were 5 young masters in the Jianghu who swore to punish evil and kill evil. 10 years later, these 5 young masters were already quite famous in the Jianghu. They worked together to kill the evil Dao's old devil Si Kong Fong and became famous all over the world. 20 years later, the small broken temple had become a famous Righteous Manor in the Jianghu. Some Jianghu people who were born in the wilderness admired the Righteous Manor and came to join them. 30 years later, the Righteous Manor had become one of the 6 gangs of people harmony. It was a righteous sect with tens of thousands of warriors in the manor. There were also countless Jianghu people who admired the Righteous Manor and came to visit. The Righteous Manor also received them. There was even a rule in the Righteous Manor. As long as the visitors brought the heads of the villains in the Jianghu, they could exchange them for gold, silver, or even cultivation resources. The Righteous Manor did not reject anyone. This action made the Righteous Manor famous in the Jianghu and was praised by the righteous Jianghu. Unfortunately, 4 of the 5 young masters who had gathered at the morgue had died due to various accidents. The only one who was still alive was the master of the morgue, a famous master of the righteous path in Jianghu, turning over the clouds near and long. Chapter 57. The morgue village was in Leping Commandery next to Linzhong Commandery. Zhang Baitao did not stop along the way and came directly to the morgue village. The morgue village had been a broken temple on a small path in the wilderness, so it had not been built in the provincial capital. 30 years ago, this place was only a small dilapidated temple, but now, it was a huge villa that was tens of thousands of meters tall. It was not as luxurious as those rich and powerful families, but it still showed a calm and dignified appearance. At the gates of the morgue village, there were numerous disciples waiting. The Jianghu people came and went in an endless stream. Some Jianghu people carried boxes and bundles, which contained the heads of some villains. Such people would immediately be brought in by the disciples of the Righteous Manor. After verification, they would immediately be given all kinds of gold, silver, and even cultivation resources. Even if some Jianghu people came empty-handed, they would be led by the disciples of the morgue village and arranged to stay in the village. There would be enough food and wine, and they could stay as many days as they wanted. Of course, the Jianghu people who came empty-handed did not have the face to stay in the morgue village to eat and drink. Even if there were shameless people, the people of the morgue village would not even need to act. Other people coming and going from the morgue village would teach these shameless scum of the Jianghu. Seeing the prosperity of the morgue village, Zhang Baitao shook his head. The scene of the Ba Mountain Sword sect was much worse than the morgue village. The entire Ba Mountain Sword sect only had about 3,000 formal disciples. Even adding on some honorary disciples and servants, there were less than 10,000. Usually, everyone practiced the sword and cultivated on Ba Mountain. It was very quiet, and it was rare to see a noisy scene like this. Zhang Baitao walked to the gates of the morgue village. Immediately, a disciple of the morgue village walked over and respectfully raised his hands. "Sir, why have you come to the morgue village? Is there anything you need my help with?" The disciples in charge of welcoming the guests in front of the morgue were very clever. When ordinary Jianghu people came, they would only take them to eat and rest. Those who brought the heads of the bandits and villains must have a certain level of strength. After receiving the bounty from the morgue, they would arrange a higher level of food and wine. People like Zhang Baitao, who had Khanate realm power at such a young age and looked extraordinary, had to be treated well. Zhang Baitao raised his hands and said, "This one wants to see the young master of the village, Sir Nye Donglu." The disciple hesitated and said, "Young master, please forgive me. Our young master has a lot of things to do. There are many heroes coming and going in the loyalty-gathering village. Our young master has to help entertain them." In reality, Nye Donglu was not so busy. But as the young master of the Morgue village, he was a famous person in the younger generation of the Jianghu. If he had to see anyone who came, then he would really be too busy, and it would easily affect his cultivation. Zhang Baitao bowed with folded hands and said, "This one really has an urgent matter and wishes to see the young master. Please, little brother, help pass the message and say that Zhang Baitao of the Ba Mountain Sword sect requests an audience." When the disciple heard that Zhang Baitao was from the Ba Mountain Sword sect of the 7 sects and 8 schools, he immediately nodded and said, "Young master, please wait in the guest hall for a moment. I will go inform the young master." The disciple heard that Zhang Baitao was from one of the 7 sects and 8 schools. He immediately nodded and said, "Sir, please wait in the guest hall. I will go notify the young master." If it was a warrior from a small faction, Nye Donglu might not meet him. But the other was a disciple of Ba Mountain Sword sect, one of the 7 sects and 8 schools. He had to notify Nye Donglu before making a decision. In a study of the Morgue village, a handsome young man dressed in blue brocade robes was silently studying a fist manual. This young man was only in his 20s. He was handsome, and the lines on his face seemed to have been chiseled by knives and were very sharp. However, there was a hint of a smile at the corner of his mouth. Like a mask, it covered up his sharp presence and gave people a very gentle presence. This young man was the young master of the Morgue village, Ling Yunbuyu, Nye Donglu. Nye Donglu's nickname was Ling Yunbuyu. The nicknames that martial artists gave people were more reliable than their names. There were only wrong names, but not wrong nicknames. In Nye Donglu's nickname, Ling Yun referred to his martial arts. At such a young age, he had already cultivated his father's heaven and earth cloud hand to initial success. Buyu referred to Nye Donglu's way of doing things. There were 2 meanings. One referred to being able to move clouds and bring rain to the people. Everyone in the Jianghu praised Nye Donglu for having his father's spirit of brotherhood. At the crucial moment, he would come to help like rain. The second referred to Nye Donglu's own abilities. He had once led a group of his Jianghu friends to kill the Black Cloud 18 villages that had done many evil deeds. He had been in the middle, and laid out one trap after another. Like moving clouds and bringing rain, he had used only 100 people to kill thousands of Black Cloud 18 villages and become famous in the Jianghu. It was also because of this battle that Nye Donglu was ranked 6th on the Wind Sweeping Tower's Longhu leaderboard. Wind Sweeping Tower was the largest organization in the Jianghu. Not only did they rank the top forces in the Jianghu, they also had 3 leaderboards. They were the Longhu leaderboard, the Honor leaderboard, and the Supreme leaderboard. They were also collectively known as the Longhu Honor leaderboard. The rule of the Longhu leaderboard was that all young martial artists under the age of 40 could be on it, but only the top 100. This meant that the young martial artists on the leaderboard were all talented. The Honor leaderboard was named after the world's wind and clouds. There was no age or martial arts restriction. As long as you had enough fame in the Jianghu and could influence the world, you could be on the leaderboard. Therefore, there were demonic giants, righteous masters, blacksmiths, and even commoners from the royal family. The leaderboard was only ranked according to fame, not strength. There were only the top 50 on the leaderboard. There were only 10 people on the Honor leaderboard. As the name suggested, those who were on the leaderboard were the most powerful in the world. They had the power to influence the Jianghu. Wind Sweeping Tower did not have the right to rank them. Only those who were recognized by the entire Jianghu had the right to be on the leaderboard. However, there were only 8 people on the Honor leaderboard. The first and second were Dugu Weiwei, the leader of the Kunlun devil cult, and the deity Ning Xuanji, the leader of the true martial arts sect of the Three Pristine Dao sect. The two of them disappeared after the battle. It was not even certain if they were dead or alive. Therefore, the first and second place had been debated in the Jianghu for many years, but there was no conclusion. The morgue was bustling, but Nie Donglio's study was very quiet. Whether it was the famous young master of the morgue village or the young hero ranked 6th on the Longhu leaderboard, Nie Donglu knew himself very well. All of these were built on the premise that he had strength. Without strength, it would be useless even if he had the title of the young master of the morgue village. Outsiders did not know, but Nie Donglu knew. The morgue did not belong to the Nie family alone. The 4 people who had sworn brotherhood with his father were all dead, but they all had children. If he did not live up to expectations, according to the rules of the Jianghu, those people had the right to take over the morgue. There was a knock on the door. Nie Donglu said coolly, "Come in." The people of the morgue knew Nie Donglio's rules. If someone did not have enough power to find him, they would not dare to disturb Nie Donglu. The disciple pushed the door open and said, "Young master, there is someone outside who calls himself Zhang Baitao of the Ba Mountain Sword sect asking for an audience. Do you want to see him?" Zhang Baitao? Nie Donglu searched for this name in his mind. It was not that his memory was bad, but that there were too many young heroes he knew in the Jianghu. The morgue gathered the heroes of the Jianghu. Nie Donglu knew this from a young age. He had always done this, using money to make connections. In the past, he had led hundreds of the young heroes of the Jianghu to destroy the Black Cloud 18 stockades. He had not contacted these people through the morgue, but through his own good friends. A moment later, Nie Donglu realized. "It's him, I have some impression. He is the disciple of the elder of the Ba Mountain Sword sect, Sorrowful Autumn Fu, Teacher Cien. While he is not at the top of the Ba Mountain Sword sect, he is an inner sect disciple. When I came to celebrate the birthday of the sect leader of the Ba Mountain Sword sect with my father, I once chatted with this Zhang Baitao. He is a steady person." The disciple hurriedly said, "I have arranged for him to be in the guest hall." Nie Donglu put down the fist manual in his hand and said, "All right, I will go now." In the guest hall, Zhang Baitao did not even touch the tea on the table. His face was expressionless, but he was slightly nervous inside. He knew Nie Donglu, but he had only spoken a few words to him when Nie Donglu had represented the morgue to celebrate the birthday of the sect leader of the Ba Mountain Sword sect. The two could not be considered friends. While he had heard that Nie Donglu was a loyal person, and that if a fellow Jianghu asked him for help, Nie Donglu would help as much as he could. But right now, he was going to use the power of the morgue to kill people. He did not know if Nie Donglu would agree. After a while, Nie Donglu walked in with a warm smile. He bowed and said, "Brother Zhang, we have not seen each other for many years since we parted at the Ba Mountain Sword sect. How is your teacher, Eldertson?" Zhang Baitao forced a smile and said, "My teacher is well." After saying this, Zhang Baitao gritted his teeth and bowed deeply to Nie Donglu. He said solemnly, "Young master. I originally did not want to trouble you this time, but right now, in all of Northern Yen, only you, young master, can help me. If young master helps me this time, I, Zhang Baitao, will be eternally grateful and will be at your beck and call." Chapter 58. Nie Donglu did not expect Zhang Baitao to give such a big bow to Nie Donglu. An inner disciple from a big sect like Zhang Baitao, who reached the Xiantian realm at a young age, was very proud. But now, Zhang Baitao came up and gave him such a big bow. He even said that he would be at his beck and call. It was obvious that Zhang Baitao's request was not a small matter, so Nie Donglu did not agree to it rashly. He stretched out his hand and a gentle force seeped into Zhang Baitao's body, causing him to straighten up involuntarily. This made Zhang Baitao secretly surprised. This young master of the Memorial Manor was probably about to break through to the inner gang state of the 5th level of the Qi-controlling realm. The 3rd level of the body-refining realm and the 5th level of the Qi-controlling realm was a watershed. The 5th level of the Qi-controlling realm could be considered an expert anywhere, but Nie Donglu was only in his early 20s. He was even a few years younger than Zhang Baitao. Nie Donglu patted Zhang Baitao's shoulder and said, "What do you mean by always at my beck and call? I, Nie Donglu, have no subordinates, only brothers. Although I haven't known Brother Zhang for a long time, I feel like old friends at first sight. If Brother Zhang has any difficulties, just tell me. If I can help, I won't refuse." After Nie Donglu finished speaking, he still didn't say whether or not he would agree to it. However, Zhang Baitao was very touched. In his opinion, it was already very good that Nie Donglu could do this for someone he didn't know very well. So, Zhang Baitao told Nie Donglu about the matter without hesitation. Nie Donglu didn't hesitate. Finally, Zhang Baitao said with hatred, "The hatred of killing my father is absolutely irreconcilable. Chu Xiu destroyed my Zhang family. If I don't kill him for revenge, what's the point of practicing martial arts?" Nie Donglu raised his eyebrows. One person destroyed a small family with a Xiantian realm warrior? As a fellow Xiantian realm warrior, there were many people in the Jianghu who could do this. Even Nie Donglu could do it easily. However, there were definitely not many who could do the same, especially when the other party was so young. This made Nie Donglu hesitate. Nie Donglu thought for a moment, then said to Zhang Baitao, "Brother Zhang, don't worry, I will help you with this matter. But as you can see, there are a lot of things that need to be done, so please stay here for one night. I will give you an answer tomorrow, how about it?" Zhang Baitao wasn't the kind of person who didn't know what was good for him, so he quickly agreed. After sending Zhang Baitao away, Nie Donglu immediately sent someone to investigate the news of the Zhang family being annihilated in Shanyang Prefecture. The Morgue village was the local snake of the northern Yan region. In the northern Yan region, the Morgue village's information network was even better than wind-sweeping towers. The warriors who came and went from the Morgue village could bring them a lot of information. So it didn't take long for Nie Donglio's confidant to pass the information to him. There was a lot of detailed information about the Zhang family being annihilated in Shanyang Prefecture. There was even news from Wind-Sweeping Tower. As one of the 6 gangs, Wind-Sweeping Tower's headquarters might not be in the northern Yan region, but there was a branch in northern Yan, so they had to give the Morgue village some face. Nie Donglu flicked the paper in his hand and said lightly, "A man who is never content is like a snake trying to swallow an elephant." That old fox of the Zhang family was like a goose that pecked his eye. Looking at this information, it should be the Zhang family who made the first move, but they were killed instead. A warrior from a small place like Shanyang Prefecture has a poor outlook. Does he really think that all the Xiantian realm warriors in the world are as strong as him? The disciple next to him asked, "Young master, do you mean that the Morgue village doesn't care about Zhang Baitao's matter?" Nie Donglu said lightly, "Of course not. Does he really think that the Morgue village is here to clean up their mess? If he doesn't have the ability to kill, he wants the Morgue village to do it. What a joke. Also, if we care about this, what if other people ask us to care about them in the future? Vendettas in the pugilistic world are the most unreasonable things. The Zhang clan wanted to seize Chu Xiu's belongings, but Chu Xiu didn't show any mercy and ruthlessly killed the Zhang clan's father and son. Who is right and who is wrong? The disciple nodded and said, "Then we will just send this Zhang Baitao away. He is just an inner sect disciple of Ba Mountain Sword Sect, and Ba Mountain Sword Sect is so far from northern Yan. We do not have much contact with Ba Mountain Sword Sect." Nie Donglu shook his head and said, "That's where you're wrong. My mortuary manor was able to develop to this point by relying on our reputation and connections. Whether it's useful now or not, it will be useful sooner or later. It is impossible to use the Morgue village's name to help Zhang Baitao, but it is possible to use my name to help Zhang Baitao. Tell Zhang Baitao to prepare for the banquet tonight. I will introduce a few friends to him. After nightfall, Zhang Baitao arrived on time for the banquet. He was still nervous, not knowing if Nie Donglu would help him this time. However, when it was time to eat, apart from Nie Donglu, there were 3 other Xiantian realm warriors. They were not young either, probably in their 30s or 40s. Nie Donglu introduced them to the 3. This is Zhang Baitao, the personal disciple of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect elder, Sorrowful Autumn Poem, Teacher Cien. Then he said to Zhang Baitao, these 3 are, Deadly Twin Spears Jianghu, Cold Mountain Sword Li Qingfeng, and Chief Escort of Fu Wei Escort Agency, Lu Yuanhai. After both sides were seated, they toasted each other. Then Nie Donglu said to the 3, this time I introduced Brother Zhang to the 3 of you because Brother Zhang is in trouble and has come to the Morgue village for help. But there are too many things going on at the Morgue village recently and I can't get away. So I don't know if the 3 of you have time to help. As he spoke, Nie Donglu told the 3 about the matter. Of course, he only described it as a Jianghu killing and did not tell them the inside information he knew. Zhang Yu and the other 2 looked at each other and frowned. They did not agree directly. The 4 of them working together to kill a Khanate cultivator did not look hard. But if Zhang Baitao had the confidence, then he would not have come to the Morgue village. Clearly, the idea was difficult. Even Zhang Baitao was not confident. They could help, but if there was an accident and they were injured, then it would not be worth it. Seeing this, Zhang Baitao bowed to the 3 with red eyes. If the 3 of you agree to help me, I will remember this favor. Also, as an inner sect disciple of the Ba Mountain Sword sect, I have accumulated some cultivation resources. After this, I will give them to the 3 of you as thanks. Hearing this, the 3's eyes brightened. They looked at each other and nodded secretly. The cultivation resources given by the Ba Mountain Sword sect, one of the 7 sects and 8 schools, were of high quality. The oldest of the 3, the chief escort of Fu Wei Escort Agency, Lu Yuanfu, stroked his beard as he stood up and said, since young hero Zhang has said so, we will not decline your offer. Our Fu Wei Escort Agency specializes in escorting goods in Linzhong Commandery. As long as Chu Xiu has not left Linzhong Commandery, I will definitely be able to find him. At the side, Nie Donglu showed a hint of a smile. His mission was now complete. If Zhang Baitao could kill Chu Xiu, he would not thank Lu Yuanhai and the other 2 who had agreed to his conditions because of the benefits, but Nie Donglu. As for Lu Yuanhai and the other 2, Nie Donglu had specially found them. He wanted to send them away temporarily, or rather, make use of them. Normally, the 3 of them did not dare to kill the truly vicious criminals who came to the morgue to exchange for the bounty. They only attacked the petty thieves and robbers who came to the morgue to fish in troubled waters. Nie Donglu had long been dissatisfied with them. But the 3 of them had some fame in the surrounding commanderies, and knew many people. For the reputation of the Morgue village, Nie Donglu could not directly chase them away. Now was a good chance to send them away temporarily. The disciples of the Morgue village saw this scene and could not help but show respect in their eyes. The young master was indeed the young master. In the time it took to have a meal, he had satisfied 2 groups of people, and at the same time solved 2 problems. Just as Zhang Baitao and the others had begun to take action and were ready to seek revenge, Chu Xiu was rushing to Luyang Mountain. Luyang Mountain was just an ordinary barren mountain in the Linzhong Commandery. It was not a good place, so there were no martial arts sections. At the foot of Luyang Mountain, there was only an ordinary small town, Luyang Town. It was not on the main road, so few warriors would come here. But at the moment, Luyang Town was very lively. There were many low-level warriors. The reason was that a few days ago, someone had seen a green light shooting into the sky at Luyang Mountain. They suspected that there was a treasure here, but after investigating, they did not find anything. But even so, there were still many low-level warriors who came here to join in the fun. If there was an ancient relic, they could get some soup if they could not get the meat. When Chu Xiu arrived at Luoyang town, he found an inn to stay. He did not even go up the mountain. It was true that there was a treasure in Luoyang mountain, but the treasure was still locked in the relic at this time. It would only be revealed when the formation was completely broken. It was useless to go up the mountain now. When the time was up, the formation would be ineffective due to time, and the relic would naturally appear. So during this time, Chu Xiu had been living in seclusion. He cultivated in the inn, and only went out to eat and get some fresh air. Chapter 59. Zhang Baitao, Lu Yuanhai, Jianghu, and Li Qingfeng gathered outside Luoyang town. Zhang Baitao asked in a deep voice, "Chief Escort Lu, are you sure that Chu Xiu is in Qingyang town?" Lu Yuanhai waved his hand casually and said, "Don't worry, young hero Zhang. I'm absolutely reliable." The brothers of the escort agency have found out that although Chu Xiu has been living in seclusion since he came to Luoyang town and didn't reveal his name, it must be him based on his appearance and clothes. A cold light flashed in Zhang Baitao's eyes and he said, "Well, I'll leave it to you this time." The three of them also cupped their hands and said, "Don't worry, young hero Zhang. This time, we will definitely help you get rid of Chu Xiu." At this time, in Luoyang town, Chu Xiu was still sitting leisurely by the window of the inn, drinking and eating. In his mind, he was constantly thinking about the operation of the piercing sun and moon internal skill. Compared with the Xiantian skill, the piercing sun and moon internal skill was of great help to Chu Xiu's combat effectiveness. Similarly, this skill also played a great role in the operation of genuine qi. Although the piercing sun and moon internal skill would not really reach the power of the piercing sun and moon internal skill, at least it would not be a problem for him to cut out the sword light with his bare hands. It could be said that this martial art was most suitable for warriors at the 5th level of qi-controlling realm to practice. With Chu Xiu's current realm, he should also consider how to step into the 5th level of qi-controlling realm, which was a big bottleneck for Chu Xiu. Just as Chu Xiu was eating and thinking, he suddenly felt that something was wrong. Chu Xiu had killed a lot of people, and because of his own cultivation skill, he was somewhat sensitive to killing intent or evil spirit. At this time, he faintly felt that there was a murderous intent around him, and the center of it was himself. Chu Xiu raised his head and saw two people walking into the inn. One of them was holding two short spears while the other was carrying a heavy sword on his back. Outside the inn, near the window of Chu Xiu's room, there were two people walking towards him. One of them was a bit older, looking to be in his 40s. He held a long saber in his hand, while the other was dressed in blue and held a long sword in his hand. Chu Xiu didn't know Zhang Baitao. Although he was Zhang Baichen's brother, his appearance was different from Zhang Baichen's. However, Chu Xiu could feel a deep hatred in his eyes. He didn't know if it was towards him or others. Picking up the wine cup, Chu Xiu pretended to drink, but the next moment, the wine cup in his hand suddenly flew out of his hand and was thrown with great force towards Jianghu, the deadly twin spears. Chu Xiu himself jumped out and unsheathed the red sleeve saber on the table. A magnificent crimson color appeared in front of Li Qingfeng's eyes. Chu Xiu didn't know who these four people were, and he wasn't even 100% sure that these four people were coming for him. However, since he felt a murderous intent from these four people, and these four people were not weak innate experts, Chu Xiu had to make the first move. Otherwise, if he was surrounded by these four people, Chu Xiu didn't have absolute confidence that he could escape from four strong innate experts. The sudden attack made Zhang Yu and Li Qingfeng unable to react. In fact, they had already noticed Chu Xiu from the moment they entered the inn. There were so many Jianghu people in the inn, but only Chu Xiu was the most conspicuous and the strongest. However, they deliberately didn't look at Chu Xiu and just pretended to walk into the inn normally. They wanted to form an encirclement with Zhang Baitao and Lu Yuanhai, who were outside the inn, so that Chu Xiu couldn't escape. But who would have thought that Chu Xiu, who was drinking quietly one moment, would suddenly make a move the next moment? When they reacted, the wine cup and Chu Xiu's figure were already in front of them. Zhang Yu used 2 short spears, and the wine cup was supported by Chu Xiu's powerful strength. After it was thrown, it directly broke through the air with a powerful sound. Its power was not much weaker than those sharp hidden weapons, so Zhang Yu could only subconsciously block the wine cup with his spear in front of his body. At this time, Chu Xiu's saber had already slashed out. The crimson saber was shining with a strange red light. Chu Xiu's true qi sword, and the murderous intent in his eyes condensed into a murderous aura. The two merged into one, condensing on the body of Chu Xiu's saber, flashing a dazzling blood-red light. Even though Chu Xiu had not yet reached the 5th level of the Imperial Qi realm, his saber at this time already had the style of an inner Qi realm martial artist. Li Qingfeng had never seen such a terrifying saber force. In front of him was endless blood red, as if he would be swallowed in the next moment. With a loud shout, Li Qingfeng's figure turned, and the cold mountain heavy sword on his back was already in his hand, blocking in front of his body. His cold mountain heavy sword was a 4th transformation weapon that he had obtained by chance in the past. For a Xiantian martial artist who was born as a rogue cultivator to be able to hold a 4th transformation precious weapon was already considered very rare. The saber and the sword clashed, and a loud clang resounded. The powerful force brought by piercing the sun and the moon suddenly exploded from the edge of the saber, making a loud sound. Li Qingfeng let out a muffled groan, and his eyes revealed a trace of horror. The webbing between his thumb and forefinger was bleeding, and under the impact of the saber, Li Qingfeng continuously retreated several steps. He cultivated the heavy sword, but now he was directly crushed by Chu Xiu's strength. Before he could react, the crimson saber light appeared again. The cold mountain heavy sword in Li Qingfeng's hand had yet to dance, but Chu Xiu's saber force suddenly changed, becoming ethereal and magnificent, like the light drizzle of dusk. It was incomparably graceful, but it also carried a magnificent, murderous aura. Under the continuous blade momentum that was like a drizzle, it finally converged into a line in an instant. The inner strength that could pierce through the sun and moon suddenly exploded. At this moment, human heads danced in the air, and blood burst out like a fountain. The entire inn suddenly became silent, and then there were ear-piercing screams. The inn's workers and the ordinary people who were eating screamed and ran out, afraid that they would be accidentally injured. Zhang Yu, who was at the side, held 2 spears in his hands, and looked at Chu Xiu in a daze. From the time Chu Xiu threw the cup to the time he blocked with his spear, how long had it taken? In the end, by the time he was free, Chu Xiu had actually killed Li Qingfeng with 1 strike. At this time, Zhang Yu suddenly felt that it was not easy to take Zhang Baitao's things. If they had known that this opponent was so terrifying, even if Nie Donglu was the middleman, they would not have agreed. Chu Xiu's imposing manner of killing one person first made Zhang Yu and Lu Yuanhai, who was outside the inn, feel a sense of fear in their hearts. These 3 were all wily old foxes in this generation of martial arts in Lingzhong Commandery and Lepiang Commandery. Usually, when asked to deal with real villains, they would only hire some petty thieves to make up the numbers. They did not expect that they would encounter such a fierce person. Zhang Baitao frowned. He also felt the fear in the hearts of these 2 people, and at the same time, he was shocked by Chu Xiu's strength. He finally knew how his father died. With this kind of strength, even if the Zhang family had another innate expert, they would still not be able to stop him. However, how could Zhang Baitao give up when the enemy who killed his father was right in front of him? He directly shouted, "The hatred of my father is absolutely irreconcilable. Chu Xiu, go to hell." Then, Zhang Baitao directly smashed the window of the inn with his sword, jumped into the inn, and attacked Chu Xiu, not giving Zhang Yu and Lu Yuanhai a chance to hesitate. Hearing the words, "the hatred of my father," Chu Xiu immediately understood who the opponent was. These 4 people really came for him, and the one who attacked should be Zhang Songling's eldest son, Zhang Baitao, who had joined the Ba Mountain Sword sect. Irreconcilable? Since you dare to come today, I will send you to reunite with your dead father. Then, Chu Xiu chopped out with the red sleeve knife in his hand. The drizzle was crimson, and the knife momentum was endless, colliding with Zhang Baitao's purple electric cyan light sword. The lightning was like thunder, and the sword chi was like a rainbow. Zhang Baitao attacked with hatred, pouring his internal force into the long sword. Every time he chopped, there was a numbing tremor, and even Chu Xiu's Xiantian's skill could not offset it. But at the same time, Chu Xiu's dusk drizzle red sleeve blade also had a strange and sorrowful blade momentum, and its speed was extremely fast. The two of them exchanged dozens of blows in the blink of an eye. They were evenly matched, and neither took a step back. Zhang Baitao shouted at Zhang Yu and Lu Yuanhai, "What are you waiting for if you don't attack? Don't forget what you promised the young Heights Lord." Zhang Yu and Lu Yuanhai's expressions changed. If Zhang Baitao had come to find them, they would have run away by now, instead of getting involved in this mess. But the problem was that Nie Donglu was the middleman. If they went back on their word, how could they explain it to Nie Donglu in the future? As people of the Northern Yen martial arts world, and born in the wilderness, they would rather offend the Northern Yen imperial court than offend the Morgue village, because the latter would make them rejected by the entire Northern Yen martial arts world. The two looked at each other, and then looked at Chu Xiu, who seemed to be evenly matched with Zhang Baitao. Gritting their teeth, they began to attack Chu Xiu from both sides with Zhang Baitao. You're tuning in to the Unparalleled SwordWill YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.